Welcome, dear ladies and gentlemen, to nothing else than the Valorant Clash Regional, powered by DreamHack Logitech Home Edition, and obviously brought to you by nobody else than Logitech. And on my side is the man who shines as bright as we saw the games yesterday. It's Tombis. And dear Tom, you have to say one thing from you know, all those fairly, let's say, unknown names we had yesterday. We saw some superb Valorant coming our way here from the German scene.
Yeah, there were definitely a few decent teams out there, like a few decent players for sure. Like Musashi in the first match was someone who impressed quite a bit, and we got to see a few others going through the different stages of the tournament. Also, a few games that were a little bit closer than we might have expected, like the Digital Ninjas actually putting up a pretty good fight in their game. So I know it was enjoyable matches, obviously all 2-0, so maybe hoping that we could have a bit of a closer overall series throughout today to see if there's going to be maybe an upset here and there. But then again, I guess when it comes to upsets, we've got our first match, which will be two teams that I think could be relatively close in their battle, like eXiLe Academy facing off against Dreamwalker, and then our second game are two, I would say, mixed teams, I guess. So I think that could be close, but maybe for the wrong reasons.
Maybe for the wrong reasons, a good term right here. Dreamwalker made a minor change considering where they came from the last regional clash, where, you know, they made it through the quarterfinals. We're actually just facing Nerdtown, definitely one of the better teams here in the German scene. And you know, now they have made minor changes. They have made minor changes, as you saw, for example, that they decided to just swap minor roles in that sense. That, for example, the Viper player previously has now been swapped due to the reason that is unknown to us. At the same time, this constellation exists for 2 weeks, but the core of Kelton, Nicholas, McConsty, and Blazor exists now for, you know, 3 months nearly. So this is a decent core, I would say, a decent core that, you know, has that experience and, you know, that chemistry that might put down the academy team of eXiLe.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be interesting. As said, I think the games today should be closer from what we've seen. I think like some of the more dominant teams have already made their way through to the sort of latter stages. So yeah, I'm going to be intrigued to see how they actually come through this one. I'm also hoping that we get to see more Icebox, because there was actually some decent preparation on the attacking side. At least it was mainly some of the defensive comps, which I was a little bit more questionable. And I wanted to see if teams might be able to adapt some things that we saw yesterday, because one of the main issues I had was I feel like, for example, when we saw the Digital Ninjas, they had the comp that was blatantly made to get them onto one of the sites, and then when it came to going towards the other site, they really didn't have anything that was going to be able to get them in. So right. I want to see if there's a team that can find that balance, and so far in this tournament, I'm not necessarily sure they have. Other than that, I feel like the more sort of standardized maps, like when we were watching Haven and stuff like that, a lot of it just came down to really aggressive duels, like especially Mixery. Like they were a team that were just like, okay, we're going to play triple duelist, we're just going to kill everybody that comes into our path. And I was like, you know what, I kind of respect it, but at the same time, we'll see whether or not there's going to be a slightly more tactical approach today.
I have to say one thing. That was really crazy. When we talk about that Entropy lineup from yesterday in our first match we had, you would say that they had this proper kind of composure. You know, a team that was working together. It didn't seem like there was any point where they were grinding their gears. But at the same time, just on an individual level, purely frag-wise, it was Mixer just being on point. And this is where I think also tomorrow we're going to have one banging semi-final. Maybe we can take a look at that bracket later on. But now we have our maps, and you talked about the standards. You get the standards.
Yeah, we've ended with Bind, Ascent, and Haven. Now, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of Ascent, like just because I feel like it's not a map made for me. Like it's very much like Angel heavy if you're going towards the mid sort of strategical point, and then a lot of very rough choke points for you to try and clear out. I think that a lot of the time your sort of flashbang utility players are going to be some of the most integral that we actually see coming into the game. Bind, though, I enjoy watching, so I'm glad that we're going to have that coming up first. It's a map that we've seen both teams play already throughout the qualifier. Fairly different looks at it as well. Like I know the Dreamwalker have actually liked to bring in a Viper on that map, something that we've seen Angel do recently. I think he's one of the people really almost like pushing that agent forward, and it works so well, especially with his ability to control mid. So I'm hoping we'll see that. I believe that I'm going to butcher some of these names. That's always going to be something I'm going to do when we're watching these teams. Kelton,
I got you.
I'm guessing Kelton. He's going to be the one playing the Viper anyway, normally playing more of the controller role within the team. Anyway, you'll see him on Ascent, potentially switch over to an Omen. Although I would like to see some of the other maps potentially have Viper brought in, because I think a lot of the buffs, a lot of the changes that have been made to that agent actually make her very, very viable.
Yes, first of all that, and I think overall she is viable on every map. She's just something like the most annoying to learn. She's the most annoying to learn, and you really have to figure out how do I, for example, utilize my wall the best. That's one thing. Where do I split up more than one position? That makes it useful just for more than one position, obviously. I mean, that sounds weird, but this is something, for example, in Haven I saw in the North American seed work quite well, where you have to imagine that there is a wall splitting the garage double doors up the way through B, so the A connector kind of position is also blocked off. So they basically have the B side split, the garage player is not able to enter, or more likely to enter from bot to mid, and also A heaven is also blocked off to the A connector position, which is very fascinating to see what kind of options you would hypothetically have with this agent.
Yeah, I'm interested. I think so far, Kelton, we've seen him play on Icebox and Bind. So those are the two that I think are the main focus of the majority of Viper players. So again, that's going to be something that's going to be interesting. We've got some other players as well. I think have had some pretty decent performances. You've got, again, I'm butchering, NKLS. I've got to read that one off the website because I clearly wrote it down very badly. He's going to be the player like on that Raisin Jet. So again, like that was something we focused on yesterday. Is in my eyes, if you're a Jet player, that your role is entry frag and your role is getting aggressive. If you're not doing that, then you're the guy who annoys me in matchmaking. You're the guy who makes me very sad when you've got that. Oh no, I'm the lurker Jet. It's like that doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Like we don't need that ever in Valorant. So. Yeah, hopefully we'll see a bit of a matchup, because we've got Zenny as well on the other side, who is also going to be playing on that Jet. So a potential battle, and with the operator player, you can basically expect to see that come through for the majority of the maps. Obviously, again, like Bind has a lot of opportunities for an operator, especially when it comes to that sort of A-side defense, the way that you can maneuver yourself around and get those picks from heaven. So again, we are going to go into our picks now, and we can take a look at where both these teams are going to be taking things. I can already see a Viper highlighted, so that makes me happy.
I can tell you one thing, first of all, to help you out, because it's a little difficult to really get for it. It's Nicholas. You know, the German Nicholas version is Nicholas, so it's without an O. NKLS, is that for you? Don't worry. I would have made that mix up. But you know from alternate text, you know Stefan? STFN?
Yeah.
Exactly, just that way, basically. So that's Nicholas for you.
Fair enough.
On the eXiLe, on the eXiLe side, what's obviously very crucial in my eyes is that a point you mentioned yesterday. How can we actually show up that we're not just, you know, the B team? How are we the ones who actually make a big impression, to not be just the ones who are there, you know, to farm or to, you know, scout or something like that? It's more to them than that. And, you know, hypothetically speaking, we could have a final of them coming, because they are in the lower bracket side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Like they could definitely. I guess you say lower half of the bracket, because lower bracket makes it sound like they've already lost the game and they have to fight through. Lower half of the bracket, like everybody's on the same stage. There's no double elimination in this tournament. It is just one loss and you're out. It's brutal, but I suppose they've already made their way through the tournament. And yeah, nothing really too surprising. Obviously, we don't really have because of the controllers, that's where the difference really lies. Is obviously you've got the Brimstone, as we mentioned yesterday. There's been a pretty decent buff to that agent, so going to see him start to come back into fashion. But the opposite on the other side is going to be that Viper facing off, and both agents definitely have their sort of positives and negatives. The Orbital Strike facing off against the Viper's Pit, both very effective ultimates, both used for fairly different reasons. Normally one for taking the site, the other for obliterating anybody trying to defuse. And you also just have on the other side as well, like the Battle of the Breaches. An agent, again, I said that I want to see more from, but I still feel like there's a lot to really be put into place with that agent so far.
True. Fully agree. Nicholas, in the meantime, already annoyed the hell out of me with the boombot constantly being put out. Really bad manner. At the same time, that is a good dart, because this should give them the clear indication of what's happening on the B site. As if you look at it right now, the Viper Wall is in that sense interesting that it's just an entry block on B. Nothing else. It's just a plain entry block on B, which obviously buys them time and opportunities. It's going to be interesting to see what that purely information-based defense on B can do about it.
Yeah, it seemed like they were going to go for an early aggressive peek in towards B, but since that failed, they've actually rotated back into a 3-man stack on the A site, and while the information from the owl drone is going to find that there's players towards long, they're not rotating anybody yet. Now, there is obviously the fast move in towards hookah, but ultimately it's still going to have to be these two players keeping them out, and by the looks of it, actually, the defense have just decided, okay, we're going to play retake.
And now it would be interesting to me what that kind of wall, why the wall was not put up initially, because that could have been extremely useful. At the same time, it is a perfect diffuse retake wall, as all the positions where you would usually have players for diffuse, they're pretty much hiding there. But it seems like Zenny is starting getting taken out by Nicholas, but JCB, Bloodwing, and Co are humiliating them. That did not work according to plan. The wall not even put in place, and that's the first round for the Academy team of eXiLe.
Did Sage have the wall? Because I didn't actually see. That's the only thing. Oh wait, you mean the
no,
Viper
I mean the Viper wall.
Okay, I was
Yes,
like,
yes.
oh, okay, I get you now. I was so confused. I was like, the wall? Oh, there isn't a Sage. Never mind. Okay, the screen. There we go. That's where it's different. But
the screen. Yeah. It's a wall, mate.
But yeah, Kelton, I suppose, yeah, like for the afterplant positions, I feel like a lot of the screens are going to be used in towards mid most of the time, like trying to section off some of the angles that can be taken. But we'll see if he can sort of alternate things up, because again, that's what we talk about with like Cypher, Killjoy utility. The same can be said for Viper, is how you're actually going to be placing down that utility, how you change things up. And, well, you can see it in this round. It is going to be similarly to what you were mentioning, like sectioning off hookah and long at the same time. Of course, it doesn't really play much of a part in the A site, but because of that, and because they have Cypher in such an aggressive position with the cam, they have actually just gone for a full-on A stack. But the second any information is garnered, it's a quick rotate to try and stack up on B.
So they're taking their time. As you see right now, the Toxin at one point off the screen is going to run low, and that is the timing to make the move. A lot of steps in front of the gates of the B site. It's a matter of time until those might be just all shattered. And talking about it, McConsty is down. Sandy finds the first. The nade is doing good damage, but it's not enough. The bomb shouldn't hit too much, and as they right now conquer the site, no major casualties so far.
Planted.
Yeah, again, this is a round where you have to look at what was invested. For eXiLe Academy, they don't want to be losing too many members here. Sure, they've only got SMGs as such, but this is their chance to have a proper bonus round where they can come in with extra weaponry and just try and sneak through versus all those rifles that will be purchased for Dreamwalker in the next round. For Dreamwalker, they've just come in with next to nothing. Maybe an extra upgraded pistol, but other than that, it's mostly going to be classics, and, well, they've just scanned where every single member will be. A bit of a risk for Naumit. He's going to try and find himself an extra couple of kills. The aftershock will hold them back longer. Of course, there's no chance to win the round, but this alone is a decent amount of damage. And Zenny, I think he's going to let the spike do the work. Never mind. He's going to ace things out. Just clean things up in the anti-eco round and see what they can do in the next. And that should actually mean that he could potentially... What I'd like to see him do is drop an SMG over to a teammate and just go in with the daggers. Because this round is going to be a kind of sucky buy anyway. So you might as well just basically go in with your daggers, try and do as much damage as possible, and see if you can win the round that way.
I mean, especially for me personally right now, Zenny has proven that he does not necessarily need too many rounds in a magazine. The fact that he can make it work with a few nice taps off the classic. Very unusual to see it on that range to work it that well, but this has been the ace for him. 6 kills on the board from Young Jet. As obviously it's a matter of question, how many more is he going to get in that first half? Is it just going to be slightly increased, or is he hitting that 30 bump in the game? We're going to find that one out, as in the meantime, Dreamwalker, same wall, nearly same setup. Breach has swapped sides, but Sova is already moving.
This is where we need to see Dreamwalker basically win themselves a round. They've gone into this one with full phantoms, every single player with a rifle in hand. Maybe a piece of utility missing here and there. Here is that Blade Storm. Now, I believe he still has an SMG behind it. Nicholas might actually be caught here, but good defensive utility with support as well from Kelton means that this is not exactly going too well for the offensive side. But they do manage to get themselves a plant, and actually there's an opportunity here, a slim one, because they don't have much utility, but there's a chance.
Yeah, but especially the thing is, Nicholas, at one point, is he going to chime in? That is a question I'm asking ourselves. I mean, they're definitely going to check it. It seems like he's still holding the same identical angle. He's not moving around. He's not swapping positions. And I mean, they must know he's on site. As in the meantime, there's a flash still in for Bloodwing. He waits until they come close, finds the first. That's the point in time where you could go with the ult. That's not so bad, and that is costing them time. It's costly, and it's about time to finally deny it. The spray's on point, but he's refusing, and he keeps on, he keeps on, he keeps on. Can he deny it? He can! No, no, he can't!
No, he didn't. Oh my god.
No way.
The thing is, sure, he should have won the round. Like, the way that he played, he deserved the round win. That was incredible stuff from Bloodwing. But you also have to look at this in terms of what he just did. Now, his opponents may have won the round. They may have got the extra money for winning, but they don't have any weaponry to save into the next round. So now you've got the attacking side buying up. This is where they actually buy rifles. This is where they purchase. And their opponents still don't have a proper buy. So sure, for eXiLe Academy, that's a shame. They don't get themselves the victory. They do get themselves their second ace in 2 rounds. And, well, Zeddy's just been absolutely wrecked there. A little bit of confusion, a little bit of aggression as well from Dreamwalker. And, well, if they do win this round, Dreamwalker are in trouble. But if Dreamwalker can take it with the weaker weaponry, we're just going to forget everything that just happened with the aces.
Absurd how much we have seen of them already.
Launching smoke.
For now, as you said, that's costly. That's costly for the Dreamwalker side. As though a very, very similar approach we see. JCB must be hiding in the corner, and I think there's a shock dart prepared. No, not yet. And did he even take any damage of that? It seems like that showstopper once more, as we saw yesterday, didn't go according to plan.
Smoke's down.
Oh, there is a 3-man stack here from Dreamwalker, and actually they're going to block things off with the screen once again. The shock dart's at least doing a little bit of damage, but this is wasting a hell of a lot of time. There has to be a decision made now by eXiLe Academy, and they are starting to run down that clock a little bit too low. The remaining flashbang going to be expended. Try and hold back these remaining players, but JCB just goes up above. Nomit as well has found another. The peak comes out from McConsty, but he doesn't do enough. He tried to go between the 2 targets, ends up getting neither of them. And now the remaining players from Dreamwalker, well, I would say that this is probably just where you save. I don't really know how you're going to get much more done. At the same time, they do only have SMGs, so it's kind of like, is it even really worth it? Like saving a Bulldog. Okay.
Talking about it, Tom. Seems like you're cursing that one for them at the moment. Kelton is trying and picks up a quite decent weapon, and this is where the wall becomes handy. This is where the wall is so useful because they have to do something. They have no vision, except obviously somebody is trying to right now make that tag work. He's sticking, but not for much longer. This is where your teammate suddenly falls dead. The wall goes down. The 3rd round goes to eXiLe. But still, decent damage dealt, and definitely hindering the economy growth right there.
Yeah, it was a nice try, but sort of as said, like, because of the amount of damage that they took in the last round, their money's screwed. Like, this is as low as it gets. Like, it's just going to be enough Shorty. You can see a few investments coming in, a Sheriff as well, but on the other side of things, still full rifles. So if they win this one cleanly, the economy of eXiLe Academy is not going to worry. And they've got off to a pretty damn good start on their attacking side. And it's a shame because there really have been strong opportunities for Dreamwalker in some of these early rounds.
Yeah, and now it seems like they're farming it off. Still, how in God's name is Zenny not dead? He took 7 different calibers and still finds a frag. What in God's name is he doing?
Player standing.
That was so unnecessarily risky, like peeking with 5 HP. I'm guessing he dropped the rifle behind him just to give it to a teammate and try and do some extra damage on his own, but hey, the man's balling at the moment, and you can see that clearly eXiLe Academy are playing with supreme confidence.
Yes.
Nicholas gonna be the last one standing, and well, to hit some crazy flicks like this, he'd need some sort of Logitech wireless mouse.
Fully agree. Maybe you want one, and if you want one, you can be the one trying it. Exclamation mark giveaway over on the Twitch chat, or check out the socials from Level Global. Twitter, Instagram, all over there. You'll find giveaways, I'm sure about that. In the meantime, the only thing Nicholas is trying to find is a frag, and as left, right, and centers players are coming, it's nothing he gets. And this also leads us to a point, dear Tom, where we have only seen 5 rounds, and Breach got a second ult.
Yeah, he's been getting a hell of a lot of kills. I'm guessing we're going to get a replay of what just happened with Jet. Does he drop the rifle?
Absurd.
That's the thing. If he drops the rifle, then I'm not too mad about it.
Nope.
No, he does. He actually just goes peeking back in. The man's insane. Like, he's actually insane. The shot was ridiculous, but the fact that he's just like, I got 5 HP, I should just wide peek into hookah. Like, that's just ridiculous. But he's not punished for it, so I guess it's not really too much of a problem.
True. Oof. And this is where I'm not so sure if the call from Kelton was the right one. And as for now... Well, okay, Zenny's getting a little suicidal for now. This is getting a little out of hand with this man. I mean, he restores HP, don't get me wrong, but... Oh no.
Oh dear. This is the second ult already, but it's actually going to be Nicholas who goes pushing down to managing to find the opening pick. So the 2 ultimates that have been used have achieved fairly little. I guess the Viper's Pit's still in play and does actually force them in the other direction. Now, with the Viper's Pit and a player pushed all the way through long, they have to start gambling players back towards that B site. They know that the push is going to be coming in on this direction. Zenny is looking to try and lead the charge. As we mentioned, he has been ridiculous so far. But again, there's going to be the screen popping up, just irritating, if anything. But Zenny still manages to get a kill straight through it.
No
and now
way.
goes pushing into the site, looking to try and lead that charge. The flash leaves him blind, however. And he had the spike. Man pushed in first with the spike. And, well, it's been dropped to the deck. Somehow, this is still looking like a possible round, but Nicholas's flank should put an end to that. There really shouldn't be an opportunity, but somehow they're still going to be able to plant. So at least getting themselves a little bit of extra cash. And somehow they brought it back. This makes absolutely no sense. Thankfully, Kelton is going to close the round, but dear Lord, how did eXiLe Academy even come close to winning that round?
I have no words. What in God's name just happened? What in God's name just happened? Holy smokes. Holy smokes. I mean, considering what kind of economic damage they did with already 2 players down, 3v5 situation, putting that one right here, and the 3v5 situation turning into something that still left 1 player standing. And a quick look right there on the scoreboard tells us, Tom, what kind of insane damage they have dealt with that. It's absurd. It's just absurd.
Yeah, it seems like even in the rounds that they're losing, they're doing so much damage that the economy of Dreamwalker never actually builds. So they're always in a position where they're 1 round away from just losing absolutely everything. Now the Blade Storm and Zenny have just gone wildly pushing into this site again. They've got the smokes down to try and block things off, and actually it's going to be the opening onto Zenny. They've still got to watch out because there's a couple of players on the site, but they've managed to section things off. They're trying to bait them in to pushing through those smokes. Now, one of the real buffs that has come in onto Brimstone is that those Sky smokes last for a ridiculous amount of time, so they're able to hold on for much longer than you might have expected. And actually, the spike's now going to go wandering back towards this B site. However, there is still a player here.
Yeah, and well, oh no. Well, for a second, I was kind of worried that Mr. Consti is gonna get any more than that, but still finds that one on the floor. A second one off. Those unfortunate fault lines are coming over on the site, and this is where they might start the slaughter, as though we saw eXiLe Academy pretty much making the impossible look so easy.
Still an even scenario. Bloodwing using a lot of his utility already. Does still have an aftershock, which could be used to block out the sight instead, though. The rifle wins the battle versus the SMG. Consti left with only that Spectre and the aftershock to hold him back even further. This becomes an impossibility, unless, of course, they just face him. But I guess Numit, again, is just happy to take that wide peek. And this is the problem. They're winning one round. The first round they won, they had 0 players surviving. The second round they won, they had 1 player surviving. So guess what, Zesh? That means they have no money again.
Oh, this is the worst. I mean, considering, you know, so many rounds where we fought, okay, it's casual, that's easy. But at the same time, now I'm looking at it and ask myself, how does they consistently, you know, how are they consistently winning rounds so dominantly? And if they lose them, it's looking like this.
A decent fault line coming out from Butcher. That'll at least slow them down a little bit. Again, with nothing really invested, you can't expect him to do anything, and tries to push through the screen previously put in. Okay, again, Zenny's gonna die, and the team seems to be so far behind every single time he's pushing. He just goes in, miles in front. Nicholas, I'll be honest, I think that was a completely wasted ult. That seems to be the main thing that's depressing me so far over the last couple of days. I think we've seen about 10 to 15
I know what you're saying.
showstoppers, and I think one of them got a kill. I can remember one showstopper kill in the entirety of yesterday and today.
I'll be honest with you, it seems like they really need to go into the Flights Academy, because otherwise they will not get their race license, to put it very honestly. I mean, show me your ID, and I don't see the race main on it. You're right. It's a little unfortunate. What's also very unfortunate, considering the low sample size we have from Dreamwalker. Bind, you know, worked from time to time. Only 4 times they've played it. Won it 2 out of 4. But especially important to me, Tom, is that only 25% of the attack rounds worked, or more likely ended in a win. And that's concerning to me, what we're seeing right now.
Now, the Hunter's Fury's not actually going to do as much as they might have hoped for. It doesn't leave Nicholas low, but try and re-aggress by the looks of things. Playing around the lamps, a bit of a risky spot. It's something that eXiLe Academy are more than happy to battle for. A jump up and a one-way smoke placed down, but it doesn't work out. Kelton peeks, and here is Nicholas, low on HP, still managing, well, to help. I guess it was Blazer who actually manages to find the frag. And again, it's the same as before. The second they find a pick, the second they bait a rotation, they're right back on the move.
I have to say, once more, if they keep on this momentum, it's getting crazy. It's getting really to an absurd kind of scenario. At the same time, we see the lurk being fully denied. This should clearly give them the signal. It's all coming down to the B side. Still, there would be teleporter coming behind them if they feel like it, but not gonna happen. Consti, he knows how uncomfortable those shots for the smoke have been in the past. Still, conquered it. The spike's down in a second.
Aftershock at least forces a move, but eXi just places himself between the smoke and his opponent's positioning. They go down. Butcher will at least be able to trade one back, leaving us in a 2v2 situation. Nicholas making his move into the site, and Butcher knows where his opponents are, but knowing and finishing off eXi is a different matter altogether. 7-2, a 4K for him now. I think that's 2 aces and multiple 4Ks coming out from the side of eXiLe. Again, it's not necessarily been the most clean execution style, but the individuals on this team are running riot.
And this is something nice to see, that from time to time, everybody can step in. It's not just one guy who, you know, occasionally finds a frag here and there. That's not the case, and that's wonderful. And, you know, this is where I somewhat saw an issue that has been mentioned by Blazer in the conversation I had with him. They don't have a dedicated IGL. Though at the same time, I don't feel like eXiLe is running super astute, well thought through strats. Not saying they don't have any tactical knowledge, but it's not like they open up the 600-page strat book to just use the 7th alternative of a B push. They are just playing plain but solid.
Yeah, I don't think they've really needed to. A lot of the time, they've just been finding a pick and then pushing back. Again, we're going to see the same Viper's Pit that was thrown out earlier, just completely controlling middle. It's a very awkward position, and Nicholas, once more, his push through long gets a kill. Now, the judge being held between it, obviously you have the huge advantages as Viper within the pit, so I imagine for the attacking side, they're going to try to avoid this. The thing I find quite weird, though, is they're not really using this to then gamble stack on the other side of the map. They're using this as like, okay, now we stack within it as a team. And I don't know about you, but if I see a Viper's Pit, I just go, well, if I spray through and kill them, great. If I don't, I just avoid it. But then I expect the team to have then stacked the other side of the map. I don't expect them to stack the side with the Viper's Pit.
Agreed. Yeah, it seems a little odd that they don't try to gamble or abuse it in that way. At the same time, ouch, this is what abuse looks like over on the side of B. Brutal damage now. Blazer, he attacks at least 2 if I saw it correctly, but at the end of the day, that doesn't help. Plant is coming in, and that spike is hitting the ground. Now the site is becoming a narrow spot because Butcher starts, and more to come. He gets more, and it seems like the Sheriff is in town, but the Deputy takes him out, 2 in hookah, and a probably easy one for eXiLe.
Oh dear. He's got the Rolling Thunder available, but clearly not wanting to use it. The fault line will do enough, stunning both players back. One of them incredibly low, and they know that the cross is being held at the same time. They peek it wide, and actually bullets have been run out by both players.
No way.
It's Naumit who's able to get things done with the Sheriff. It's not pretty, but it does work. And more interestingly, I like the fact that they've actually saved over the Rolling Thunder. They can use that for another round. Again, I think the last time we saw the Rolling Thunders come in, both Breaches actually used it exactly the same time when they were pushing onto the B site, so maybe it'll be the same case here. However, 8 rounds already on the attacking side. I think eXiLe Academy are looking very, very good in this first map.
And especially, I have to say, considering that this is not their map pick, right? It was Dreamwalkers that decided to play that right here as finally it's an aggression coming in. There's a tiny bit of critique I don't have to give. True. The only thing that I never understood is that both tripwires of Cypher are just holding down B. When this is a position they tend to take more room at the beginning of the round. At least that's what it felt like so far.
Yeah, I assume it's mainly because they just leave him alone a lot of the time. Like, most of their gambles leave the Cypher with the role of holding down the site, so he needs all that extra utility. Interestingly, Dreamwalker don't actually opt to fight for the spike control. So they had it in their grasps, but just decided, okay, we don't think we're going to be able to hold on to this position. A lot of horrible angles to try and hold on to if they do stay in that position. So they've just said, okay, you know what? You can have it back. You can have the spike. The only thing that worries me is there is still 3 players standing. And you have to bear in mind that the eXiLe's been having a ridiculous game. I think also this Brimstone has died twice in the entirety. That's going to be JCB. So we'll have to see how things actually go for them here. It is going to be that push coming into the site. Smoke's down. But Consti has a great spot though.
Enemy down.
Absolutely does. This should bring them the 3rd round by now. I mean, though, if there's a team that I would say brings the impossible to life, it must be eXiLe. At the same time, they cannot plant. It's not
Oh! Yes, they can! Yes, they can! Oh, and they've got the Hunter's Fury as well, nearly killing a teammate, trying to find the information at least, but actually it's the spam coming through, and now it's left all to eXiLe, but this man has been incredible. A 1 versus 1, a Rolling Thunder. He's going to have to hit the instant shot. And now eXiLe win that battle. The man is stunned. Butcher, what has gone wrong? Oh.
Last round before the switch.
Tell me what you want. I mean, this man could be
such a whiff.
this man could be in coma in the hospital bed and still finds a way to win a round like that. Insane stuff coming out from eXiLe Academy. And if you aren't mad, tilted, disgruntled, use any kind of word to describe a somewhat unfortunate manner of a team, then I don't know what Dreamwalker are. 2-9, and I don't know how you see it, but there were 2 or 3 rounds where I would say safe wins.
Yeah, no, Butcher should have got that kill all day long. Like, his opponent, one of the main features of that Rolling Thunder is you shoot slower. So the fact that wasn't a headshot, by the way. That last kill was not a headshot. That was just a spray. So he was able to shoot 3 or 4 bullets in slow motion into the chest of that player while they were able to shoot at full speed. So that had to be a full-on whiff, nothing else. So that's a round that was unlosable for the side of Dreamwalker, and they managed to lose it. Here comes the Rolling Thunder.
There we go. Okay. This is how the Rolling Thunder can work. There's the counter to it. Obviously made that work, but the frags are still being found. eXiLe is taking out McConsty, and 2 more individuals remain over on the side of Dreamwalker. As they try to retake a side once more, and once more, they might just want to dip out. At the same time, it is the last round of this half. Maybe make a good impression right now.
I think it might be a little bit late for that. The other thing is, as well, is they never seem to win any of these clutch situations, and it's not going to change here. eXiLe closed the half 10-2. It wasn't JCB earlier who had only died twice. It was actually Bloodwing who was playing the Breach. He's 14-3 at the end of the half, so it's been a masterclass. They've been the better team. They've been the better individuals, and unfortunately, though, as said, the only 2 rounds that they managed to win over on the defensive side, 1 player survived total. So it's been a pretty rough game for Dreamwalker on Bind. Obviously, there is a second map still to come, but I wouldn't be surprised if that went similarly, considering what we've seen so far.
And this is where they can hypothetically turn it around, right? They still got an option in this game to return, to come back. And, you know, talking about the momentum you can grab in Valorant, it's a little bit easier than in other competitive shooters due to the lower amount of rounds to win. And therefore, the pistol could determine a lot. As for the moment, the only thing Blazer is determining is how it looks over there on the A sides.
Well, a pistol round would at least give Dreamwalker a bit of a chance. And
there you go.
Blazer is going to start things off. Nicholas might be able to get another one. They found a Brimstone in a pretty interesting position. I don't know how JCB even managed to get there. That really is some Angel level stuff, just pushing all the way through. Now there is going to be a defensive Sova. eXiLe has been ridiculous in these sort of clutch situations. Angle not checked by the first. The second, he's completely blind in the corner. He can't see a thing, and eventually they peek, but he still manages to get the kill. Goes for the second as well. This man is on a mission. However, there should be no hope for him to survive any longer. It comes down to just Naumit to try and close, and he will not be able to. A very nice try in the end from eXiLe, but it will be a pistol and a lifeline for Dreamwalker.
I understand the point that they don't check him. I legit understand why they didn't think eXiLe could be in that corner. At the same time, which then raises the question to me, when you check that uncomfortable cubby over on B, right? That very, very nasty spot. How, with that field of view, do you not see a player over on Hookah exit? I mean, could be just a moment of seconds, but either way, insane job. An eXiLe Academy, 7 rounds difference, a comfortable sort of scenario they're at. A matter of time, maybe, Tom?
We'll see.
Tell me.
We will see.
You know, Tom, usually you come around with very cocky statements how about things are over, but you have changed out of nowhere.
It is over. There's no silver lining here. They've been absolutely ruined. Even in the pistol round, that was ridiculously close. I don't think it's over here, though. They should be able to win this round. Although it is getting a little bit close for comfort. The shorties have come out from Zenny. Now he's low. He's going to let his teammate pick up the SMG, which is the majority of the weaponry over on the other side as well. The problem is the shorties are not going to be too viable other than in lamps. So as long as the attacking side don't get too aggressive, there shouldn't really be a way that they lose this round, even from this scenario, even with a man down. A little bit of utility being expended. The push from Zenny is actually just bait, but they're still managing to clean things up. It's a little bit awkward, but eventually they are going to get things done. Butcher with a triple kill, maybe coming back a little bit from his mishap earlier, but this is where things get a little bit tougher because they've lost a lot of weaponry and the rifles are coming.
First of all, that. And second of all, right here, Tom. They consistently got in a bad situation, economically speaking. Again and again and again, they were not bringing through the majority of players, right? They were not bringing through the majority of individuals you would like to see to actually, you know, make it flourish. Get yourself some big dollar bills in your bank account. But that didn't happen. And that results right now in 2 submachine guns, whilst, you know, eXiLe are most likely celebrating.
Yeah, they did a lot of damage considering what they invested into that round. Like, they dropped 3 players with only really buying shorties, so I don't think they're going to be too worried about the current state of the match. The other thing as well is that even though they managed to win the pistol of the follow-up round, no one's actually managed to get their ultimate over on the attacking side. So that's normally the benefit. You have these weaker guns, but you have your ult. Well, they don't. They don't have their ult either. So all they have at the moment is weaker weaponry facing off against a 4x on the other side. So it's going to take an almost miracle for them to win this. Of course, if Nicholas does manage to get a pick, he will have his showstopper. But as we've seen so far, showstopper seems to be one of the weaker ults in this tournament.
I'm just waiting for a very bad joke where the Germans can use the showstopper. In the meantime, the Viper wall is being put up over on the A side. It's suddenly a toxic screen that has arrived, and they're clearing everything. Lamps, nobody around. Now bathroom is going to become interesting. They find 2, and the majority right now is over on the side of eXiLe Academy. Left, right, and center, they find players, and they might just even make it flawless in their first buy round. I mean...
They took about 30 to 40 damage in that entire round.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and then you look at the economy now as well. So because they didn't manage to even do any damage or get any ultimates or anything, it really is a rough scenario for Dreamwalker, because if they eco this round, sure, they can buy in the next, but then they're facing off against 12 rounds for eXiLe. You're allowing them to get to the point where they're on match. And then if you buy here, your buy sucks. So it's basically picking between 2 evils. So good luck.
I have to be honest with you. I think there might be the magic recipe to eXiLe Academy is that ingredient called Logitech G. And with exclamation mark giveaway, you can get yourself some off that gear as well. You can participate in our giveaway as well as check it out over on the Level socials with another. So we'll definitely try that. As in the meantime, Bloodwing tries to show us how microflicks work.
That was really, really clean. I think especially in Valorant, that's fairly difficult to do. Like transitioning between sprays, definitely easier with the Phantom than with the Vandal. Like people who can transition with the Vandal are cheating. Like just doesn't exist. But Nicholas did at least manage to get them a pick over on the B side. So that's where they look to push, but they haven't even cleared elbow properly. Sure, they managed to get XE in the end, but it just seems to be that they're giving away far too many very, very easy picks. Now, Nicholas basically just has to go ham. He's the only one with any real health, and even he only has 100. Butcher left on just 65, and Nicholas is already dead. It has to be the clutch. A single kill will at least give him the ultimate, but he's not going to get that. It is a 12th onto the board. Sure, they will have a bye going into this round, but at 12-4, do I really think they're going to get 8 rounds in a row? Not a chance.
Come on, Tom.
Hell.
Come on.
Match point.
What about
0%.
in heaven?
They're not in heaven, they're in hell. This would definitely not be them in heaven, just getting ruined all the time.
True. It's a disaster. It's the start to finish disaster, very, very honestly. It feels so horribly wrong to some degree that I would say that they should they should just accept that it was that way. Fine, whatever. You know, we ended up like that. Still, there are 2 more to go. There are 2 more maps to go. I mean, Ascent is up next on the board. Unfortunately, it's the eXiLe Academy choice of things. Either way, we're going to see what they'll make with that. As 4 to 12, yeah, overtime is possible. Is it realistic? Not at all.
Right here.
A bit of a faster push. They're going to group up together, try and make the playthrough. They've got the showstopper. Will it finally work? Yes, it will. There we go. Second attempt. Nicholas is going to be able to get them that opening pick. 2 rounds in a row, though, that he has been able to do that, and there are a lot of ultimates on the other side. One of them being the Rolling Thunder, one of the best ultimates for retakes, able to clear so many different angles, stun players as they go, but he's waiting for his teammates to get into position. There's also going to be the Hunter's Fury, trying to clear out a player from long, but doesn't actually do too much damage, so not really much gained. The Blade Storm invested as well, but actually the hold is working. Finally, we see a rise to the occasion from the remaining members of this squad. Shot dart through for eXi, trying to do what he can, but it is just not happening. It would have to be something incredible for JCB to be able to win this round. The time ticking so far gone. He's even going to switch over to the Classic, and he will not be able to win it. It is Dreamwalker coming away with a 5th round, at least clinging to life. And actually, for the defensive side, Zesh, money's not amazing.
It's a little weird that the Rolling Thunder didn't come out. That's something I find slightly odd, considering that, you know, somebody like Zenny used his ult in this round. So I very much thought that could be now the case. In the meantime, you know, you can play it now. You can save it for later. They got the perfect retake ult, by the way, again. Right? They got the perfect opportunity at this point in time with nobody else than JCB having everything to, you know, fire up a place. And at the meantime, as you said, the Rolling Thunder still being available for the Academy boys.
Take flight.
Welcome to my world.
Oh, we are going to see Viper's Pit. Interesting use of it. I guess it's an attempt to try and get out onto the B side, but look how much aggression has come out from eXiLe Academy. They pushed all the way through long. Now, they are going to come across a tripwire, so that might put a little bit of a thorn in their side, but have they got past it? Where is it placed?
Don't ask me that, but the thing that is first of all surprising me is now they know about the rotation, right? Now they know about that, you know, they tried to clear out B, nobody spear right now, which is still weird at the same time. They could go into the teleporter, don't do it. And this now leads to a sandwich over on the site.
They've actually managed to come out in a decent position. The only problem is the flank, and it's eXi once again. The spike goes down, but CONSTIPEEK going to be left alone. Now, this will actually work. The neural theft gives him both players' positions. He knows where they're coming from, but they're also going to be tagged. He's down to just 47 HP. He needs almost instant headshots to win this one through, and actually they didn't get the spike down, so he had to try and fight for it. eXi is going to be there to close the game. A fantastic performance from him and the squad, and they were pretty much dominant, Zesh, from beginning to end.
It was shocking. It was to some degree shocking because we still have to talk about one thing, that is coordination. There were... Again, like I said, especially in the first half, 2 or 3 rounds as a defender where I thought those are must-wins. There is no universe where you can lose a player being, you know, fully obstructed, fully, you know, concussed by the Rolling Thunder, and you don't find the frag. You cannot have a 2v4 retake being lost like that in the fashion they did. eXiLe Academy had individual superb plays, by far. Don't get me wrong. But there is still a way to counter that. And this just didn't happen.
Yeah, I think I really was sort of disappointed with that in particular. Like, those are moments that I don't want to say they're unforgivable, but that's at least how it feels like. And there was a comment you made, which I thought was one of the most optimistic things I've ever heard, which you said there's 2 maps left, because it's my understanding that there's actually only 1.
You know, you're right to some degree. To some degree, it depends on what happens. But we're going to take a look at those replays and actually can discuss about a few of those weaknesses we saw. Because I mean, surely there was individual strength. Again, here Zenny was just starting up on what he's so good about. The following clip is most likely something that was somewhere over on short. But here it is again, right? How can he win this? How can he just deal so much damage? It's not even a diffuse, yet it's so powerful.
Yeah, but yeah, that was the thing. He didn't win the round, but it was just the amount of damage they were able to even do in rounds that they lost. And I think just the main problem I had was just that on an individual level, eXiLe just looked so far above. Like, plays like this are just... They're not good plays, but they made them work. And that's the thing that was ridiculous about it. There were so many afterplant positions where it was very even in the scenario, but they just won every single one of the duels, or there were just like whiffs like this, or players running out of ammo, and it's like, those are situations where that shouldn't really be happening. Like, you need to be more concise, you need to be more accurate. Now, a lot of these players are definitely going to be a little bit more inexperienced than maybe some of the guys on eXiLe Academy who've been playing together for a few months. So maybe there's a few synergy issues. Maybe there's just some nerves playing up against a team that you don't think you quite match up against. That could just be the case. I did enjoy seeing the Viper come out, though. I will say that when looking at the Viper's pit, I was a little bit disappointed in the way it was used, because it never really seemed to have any impact. It was just, okay, you can't go mid now, and they went, all right, we'll go big,
I guess.
and that was it. There was no like other change. I think the same with the way that they used the screens as well. It was always just the same screen. Like, we saw the same screen about 8 times. It was just, okay, it blocks off. Now it gives you a good way for the retake onto the B site, but it just seemed to be a problem where they didn't care. Like, they just played aggressive. They played into the tube. They played around the site. And there was not really anything that they could do in the retake, just because they couldn't match up against the players on an individual basis. Like, I don't think the strategy of having that wall ready for afterplants is a bad one. I just think if you're losing that control, you needed to do something different. And I think one of the only rounds that was actually, like, well, it wasn't convincing, but at least got off to a very good start, was them getting aggressive. And there were so many rounds where they just basically sat back and just waited.
Fully, you said it perfectly, but that was the thing. Sometimes you saw them push bathroom. You saw especially Nicholas push bathroom as a defender, and it worked. This is where they got double kills and things like that, which was insane to me personally. But you are right. That Viper, once we compare it to what we saw in Icebox yesterday and what kind of impact that Viper had, different universe. But new map, new choices, and there you have your Omen.
Yeah, no real surprise. This is a map especially where I think Omen has always been the focus. I don't think many players have really opted for anything else. I don't expect to see Viper pulled on this map, mainly because there's a lot of very large open spaces, especially around middle, so I don't really know how you would get the screens to work. Like, there's probably potential for it. I'm sure somebody out there will be screaming that, I've actually got the perfect lineup, and sure, there's always going to be niches. I think that's something I actually really love about Valorant is there are definitely going to be agents that are set for certain maps, but there will be niche players who are able to get around that. Like, I think the way that David P was able to play Sage on pretty much every single map for a very, very long time. He basically went, okay, you're playing the norm, I'm playing David P. And that worked for him. So we'll see if maybe there'll be changes. Other than that, it's going to be fairly similar. Still got ourselves a couple of breaches, which is something I'm looking forward to seeing. Again, the Sovas are going to be coming out. Not surprised at all by that, seeing that on Ascent. And yeah, the only real changes is that we've now got both controllers switching over to an Omen instead.
I'm very much looking forward to exactly seeing that. As for now, it raises the question within me: are we going to have a major change to it? Because you know what you have to say is that this right here is obviously a mind game to some point, because eXiLe didn't give a single one. Not once. There was not a situation where I felt, they don't feel confident. They don't feel like they can make that peak. They can make that move. And how much is that in the head of Dreamwalker is, somewhat a valid point. It's not a game changer necessarily, but it is a valid point to that sense to ask, how much do they actually feel confident coming into this?
Hello.
Bonjour.
Oh, it's looking like they're going to go for a very fast A take. Now, this is actually where Killjoy's utility is. And just look at this from the defensive side. They've got a good read on the situation. They have completely abandoned the B site. Every single player already rotating in. And if eXiLe win this round, that's where I really will worry. Because if you have a full stack, you have utility waiting, you've had every single counter available, you should be winning the round.
Yeah, you should. And at the same time, if there's one thing we saw from eXiLe Academy is making the impossible possible, as they somehow found the golden key to pretty much open up every door. And, you know, maybe they can even sell the fake that they're not there, but nope, it is JCB bringing that thing down. Nicholas could consider a peek, just waits for any assistant. You see right there, they're setting something up. Here comes the smoke. There's still Sova placing a dart anytime soon. The flashbang is there as well. They're about to come out, but Lightwing falls, not the best start to things.
One enemy remaining.
Good take, good retake coming in from the defensive side, and yeah, that was solid. They were very much prepared. They easily could have gone in a little bit earlier, but they decide, nope, we're going to wait patiently. We're going to wait for their utility to expend, and we're going to make sure that we're set up for our own retake. So much more controlled coming out from the side of Dreamwalker, and for eXiLe Academy, they're probably just going to have to take the eco here. So already a much better start to what we saw previously. Of course, one of the main issues was in their second round, Dreamwalker really struggled to sort of get away with not taking too much damage. And you can actually see that even on the side of eXiLe in this, they're very tempted to invest some extra cash. In fact, they've actually dropped over a Bucky to Zenny to try and do some extra damage.
From now, you know, eXiLe Academy being a team that makes uncomfortable things possible, but you know, they start to just push over on the side of B. Nothing too crazy, nothing too special. Just make everything, you know, work with that eco. It's not the most astute, well thought through kind of execution with an eco, but you know what? It doesn't matter. They're trying, and so Pruneau is falling down. Kelton gets him killed, and so the 2-0 is on the side of Dreamwalker. And you know, correct me if I am wrong, dear Tom, but it feels like this is the first time we see actually Dreamwalker having the lead.
I think also first time we've seen them have a flawless round in the entire match. So, like, in the last, I think the most they ever survived with was maybe 2 players, maybe 3 once, but this time they get it flawlessly, so a good economic start. This is a pure bonus round for them, so you might be looking at this and thinking, okay, why have they got so many Spectres? Well, the fact is they're going to be able to buy into the next round anyway. If they can win this round, that would be an incredible start, and Nicholas does just that. He gets the opening with the jet. There is now a rifle drop to the deck, which they could look to retrieve, although probably not worth the risk considering its current positioning and the amount of players on the other side that are waiting. But instead, we actually now see Dreamwalker re-aggress onto short. So already looking like a much more, well, I guess, aggressive style of play, just taking the positioning and not allowing it to go to free for the eXiLe side.
Here.
It seems like the flashbang is going to be right now called by a teammate. 3 players holding a short. The side itself clear. And this could be somewhat vulnerable because they're moving through. Suddenly, nothing is here. Nobody's on the right-hand side. Nobody's hiding behind the boxes. You can enter it, you can exit it, and you can put that spike down 100%. As in the same position, Kelton tried. It was worth considering, but now the spike is down. The retake is on, and again, they all seemingly wait patient for the right utility to be thrown in.
First things first. Going to send out the dart to find out where these remaining players are going to be. Good spot from Zenny, though, and he just doesn't allow anybody in through the door. It's locked. And the remaining players trying for the push. Again, they're doing damage. They're making things close, and somehow it's into a 1v1 situation. Zenny with a quad kill facing.
No.
Now it's up for McConsty. And the Omen's the only one remaining. Trying to hold this off the turret. Might actually do it. Well, it is going to be enough. I think he's got enough time to get this. It's going to be incredibly close. Oh, 0.08.
No way. Jesus Christ, that was closer than it should have been. eXiLe still not find the first. And it was basically, again, Zenny saving the day to some degree. Here we go. This is their sort of retake setup. They wait for Blazer to put that one up. Here comes the dart. Still, it is Zenny getting so many frags, as in the meantime, his teammates die all over the place.
Yeah, I don't really know how he manages to get 4 kills and nobody else does anything. I'm probably sure that's in the back of his mind as well. Like, really, guys? Come on. But he's going to try and do it again. He's got himself the Bladestorm. There's no way he should get anything here. He's actually jumped all the way over the top and he's found absolutely no one. How is he doing it without anybody realizing? Jumps over and sure 2 of his teammates die, but that's ridiculous. They heard him use the updraft and just went, Oh, he must have just updrafted to nowhere. Shock dart all the way over, trying to deny the plant, and it would have hit if they were in the default spot, but evidently eXiLe are more aware than that.
I am as confused as you are in what we just saw. Because it felt for me like they must have realized what happened with Zenny. In the meantime, this man's dead and out. The retake might be not that easy, but it seems like they're still there to try and still want to hold down that site.
Last player standing.
Yeah, they really should have this now. It's left all onto Blood.
Oh, no.
The 2 shots he hit were crisp. And again, it's only going to be 1 player surviving for the side of Dreamwalker. They've had 4 rounds, and the last 2 have only been with a single player. But the fact is, they are getting themselves rounds. eXiLe Academy, they've been very, very close, but this time the clutches are going in the other direction.
Yeah, very much, and that's a little surprising, isn't it? Considering what they have done in the previous game, where especially that confidence level was so high, and it's definitely high for somebody like Zenny. I wouldn't doubt that. The other ones, you know, lacking slightly, just slightly. No, nothing too worrying. It's too early in the game to really make any kind of statements in that sense, but it looks slightly, you know, in a situation where you might worry. You might start to worry. That's just 4-0.
This is confidence from Nicholas. I am enjoying this side of him. Sure, it doesn't actually work out, but he gets a kill, gets traded. Then he's going to start pushing. There is an alarm bot right in front of him, although I do wonder if he's already spotted it. It's in a fairly obvious position. The eXiLe on the other side of the map. Trying to give things away, but they are going to be pushing in that direction. And, well, there is that alarm bot. It gives away the fact that they've still left a player lurking around middle, so the defensive side are going to be a little bit wary that they're being flanked on.
So patience is on the side of eXiLe. It's something we saw, by the way, on Bind as well. As aggressive as they were, it was never like they just push initially. Ouch, that dink! Worker is not that comfortable, as though... Here's the counter. Here you go. See you next time, Worker. He's suddenly somewhere in the air and can only shoot slowly, is eliminated. eXi proves that his aim is still on, but it is a round where now Killjoy could make a difference. That bot is sticking. That lockdown comes 5 more seconds. Uh-oh.
Actually messed up breaking it. That is a pretty big mistake, but they get out of there anyway. Another comes in from a Consti. Surely this isn't a round. Why are they still peeking? It's back down to a 1 versus 1 scenario. They know exactly where he is. The scan dart comes out, but McConaughey's already pushing forward. He's going for that peek. He wants to try and fades off, and he's going to win the 1v4. This is all falling apart for eXiLe Academy. That is a round that you cannot lose, but somehow Dreamwalker bring it back.
I have a deja vu. It's just in a different way. It's absurd. Legitimately absurd. It's something I would have never expected to see come out that way. Because for me personally, felt like, okay, there's no way you can lose this, right? Okay, you might lose the first duel. All right, happens. That initial peak from Breach seemed like, you know, there was nobody reflagging, there was nobody supporting, but you also have time pressure, so I sort of understand that. At the same time, oh, come on. It can't be going this way. It's not okay. It can't be going this way.
And that was just bad. That's all you can really say from eXiLe Academy. Like, they each peak. I can understand the player peeking to try and destroy the lockdown, but after that point, the fact that they continuously swing and try and take him down is just... It's just not good team play. They would have won that round if they did nothing. Like that's the case. If they just didn't peek and stay back, there was no way he wins that round. Now NZ or eXi is gonna start things off. The Hunter's Fury's done enough. The paranoia coming out from Kelton will actually hold it back, but they've used one in response. They've tried to counter out, but are they gonna spot him? He already gets himself the first pick, tries to work out where Jen is, but Zenny is still going strong. Leaves us in a 3v3 situation. And actually, Zenny Got to be careful. That Skandar almost casting him out, knowing that his teammate is stuck in a bit of an awkward position. He's going to try and peek in to help him out, try and catch off the players coming in from heaven, which is actually the majority of the defense here. The remaining two, both coming from exactly the same position. And you can see they're waiting. They're hoping, okay, will someone make a same mistake again? Will someone slip up and hand us the kill? The answer this time is no. And finally, eXiLe Academy have a round.
And it was about time. And I have to say about that round you just mentioned, the one that pretty much was gifted, I was also asking myself, if they swing, go for it. But why don't you swing together if you're so close to each other? Why don't you swing together for the refrag was really a question I was asking myself. Because you saw Cypher swing for some reason all on his own low HP. And eXi was there like, mate, why are you coming around the corner? And that's a little odd to me. But at the same time, you know, they finally got it. First round and a sign of life, maybe more to come, or possibly just a slight slip up of Dreamwalker.
Yeah, we'll see. This round, it's only going to be pistols, so for eXiLe Academy, this should be a chance for them to build back into this match. Not going to be the greatest start for Nicholas, although there are two more players. It might be an attempt to try and bait the remainder in. One goes aggressive, the others try and play a bit more passively. But they've realized that their opposition have actually pushed back into middle, so they've got a hell of a lot of information. The remaining players on A are going to be more than ready for some sort of attack to come in. The problem is even though they'll be prepared, I don't think it matters too much. The fact is, you're in a 2 versus 5. You don't really have much in terms of your own economy. And unless you're going to hit some pretty ridiculous shots with the pistols, it should be a relatively easy round. Although McConsty does still have a gun, so you never know after last time.
Yeah, and look what, you know, it's not only that what he got. So there's something he has in his hands that won them the round last time because they made it all crazy. The lockdown's on again, and that means he knows where it is, can't destroy it in time, and that is costly because look at it. They are having a massive problem once more, but oh, JCB, he saw that from Sean Garrett, and he knows how to use it, abuses it. What can make this ult work? Another round possibly, as now Bucher all on his own, tries desperately, but most likely won't find a thing.
Yeah, that was really clever. That ultimate from JCB is basically just so that he's not in the circle when the lockdown goes off, and then he can just TP back into his original position. Obviously, if they had just pushed in that angle and worked out what he was doing, he was absolutely screwed, but it's not something that you see too commonly used. So very smart play. It guarantees them that second round.
100%.
The fact is, though, that was only one rifle and some pistols. So bringing it down to only 2 players remaining, again, we're getting the same thing we saw on the other side, where eXiLe haven't really built up too much cash, and now we see the defenders come in with another purchase.
And one thing I have to say here, Tom, is that this could be once more this momentum kind of thing going on, because, you know, sure this was not the best scenario overall economically speaking for Dreamwalker, all fine, all good, and now eXiLe, they need to get up the ranks. As in the meantime, something or more likely you actually commented over there on the site of Bind was when they were defenders and actually went in a more aggressive stance, it seemingly worked. Now they've done that, closed the door for short, taking a look over on long, but do they know what's coming?
Well, Zenny once again. Something he seems so effective as is finding those entry kills, those first bloods that just go in his favor time after time. Kelton as well with a bit of a whiff. They now know exactly where he is on the site, and he's got no utility to stop them, no paranoia to blind them, and nothing to stop them taking over the site. You could see the defenders are gambled much more heavily with their utility on B, their players on B, and once again they're going to have to try and make this work in a retake.
And that's major information that now has been brought onto the side of eXiLe Academy. Booker is moving backwards. And this is where, you know, a safe seems somewhat reasonable. Unfortunately, you know, when you take a look at the bottom right, you saw right now the economy of the Dreamwalker side is just not good enough. 700 here on the Booker. I think Soba had 400 for himself. It's just the point in time where you have to bring those guns in. You just put them back in the shelf, save them for next one.
Yeah, they won't have the money to buy if they don't, so definitely worth making sure they have some extra weaponry. They're still in the lead. They're still in a pretty decent situation. This is definitely a map where I would still expect the majority of the rounds to be on the defensive side, but it really does just seem to depend on the team. Like, it really isn't that dominant a map. It definitely seems like some of the stars have slowed down. Like some early flourishes from McConsty has brought them home a few rounds. There was also the clutch that came in, I believe, from Butcher as well. Other than that, we're now back to the sort of normal realms. Zenny just right at the top of the board, and sure, he doesn't have his partners in crime just yet, but as they start to get themselves back into the match, I imagine the remainder of the Academy players will perform as well.
I have to say, this is where eXiLe Academy probably just get their tank full of that motivational and kind of momentum-based gasoline. You know, firing on all cylinders, whilst they seem like, you know, engine malfunction a little earlier on, but they're not on P1, that's for sure. Still, they're on the right track, and maybe they hit the apex right to get themselves in the lead again. Zenny is in the worst spot to be, out as Nicholas moves.
This time, though, Bloodwing has turned the tide, but the trades come back thick and fast, leaving things, again, onto one man, and that one man is McConsty, easily the best player for his side throughout the series so far. See if he can make this work once again. No, JCB denies him before he gets any sort of chance into the round. And we now see a 4-round streak coming out from the attacking side. So what was looking like a very worrying scoreline, 5-0 down, they are right back in this match, but this is where things might change a little bit, as again, the defenders will have themselves a purchase.
It still is a matter of fact that we don't have too many rounds left in this half here, Tom. It's not like too much more wiggle room that is left for Dreamwalker. After a sensational start they delivered, they seemingly don't take the initiative anymore. It's because Zenny is back alive, Bloodwing got his back, and as they try to flank and confuse the enemy as much as possible, that ain't happening. Nice. That was a nice shock dart, though, in combination with the concussion.
Yeah.
At least some good damage dealt.
That's a cool strategy, the fault line going alongside the shock darts to make sure that the player can't really get out of the way. Fortunately, didn't do as much damage as they might have hoped, and still being 2 men down is definitely a problem. They've had to split their defenses pretty much as thin as possible, and because of that, the attackers are able to take an awful lot of ground. They've got themselves up short, still dominating in mid, and they will have to get past all of the Killjoy utility and Killjoy himself, which will be, again, McConsty in prime position to try and deny them here. Sat in the corner, they haven't spotted him. It's a bit of an off angle because of the risks that come with it. And actually, Blazor's been able to do some damage with the shock dart. Now comes the peak, and the tide turns once again. It goes quickly from a 5 versus 3 to just 1 man standing.
What?
And McConsty has obliterated them as they try to enter his A site.
It seems like somebody has, you know, actually went a few semesters into the doctor's course. It seems like he got a PhD in clinical surgery, as this was a brutally clean 6-4 for Dreamwalker and 17 frags.
This is a hard carry.
This is the worrying part, isn't it, Tom? Because that also means that if he, you know, malfunctions at one point, there might be, you know, some downtime over on the side of Dreamwalker.
I think the problem, like, literally the rounds they've been winning is when either this man has clutched or if they've walked into his site. Like, he's having to rotate and try and switch things up just to try and hold off. The other thing that I find a problem with is I don't know if I've ever seen a Killjoy dominate on the attacking side. Like, it doesn't happen. Now, sure, it's very much possible that a different player will step up. It's a different half. It's a different side to the game. I don't think they'll mind too much. But I don't think he'll be able to carry on the second half. So that's where you need someone on the other side of Dreamwalker to step up. Because this man has been unbelievable. No doubt this has been one of the most impressive halves I think I've seen from a player. But it's very easy to, or not easy, it's easy to see a player do it on one side of the map. I think it's a very different story to dominate on both.
Yes, fully agreed. You know, you saw right there how much he can play up to his strengths on the defense with the opportunities that has been brought to what he can make with Killjoy. Still weird to see such a peak happen, you know, without any defense, but probably thought about the timing. In the meantime, eXi is just waiting for any extraordinary move over on the A side. At the same time, knock knock, we're coming to B.
Oh, it is going to be the entry onto Blazer. And this time there's no hero to be had. Butcher's going to have to be the one to hold the line. He does get himself one. The flash comes in a little bit late, and he's going to expend one or two of his own. The lockdown also being thrown out, but he's still going to get pushed. JCB with an impactful kill. The back of the site has been cleared. eXi as well looks to deny anybody else coming in from CT. And, well, now it's down to a different man to catch. Kelton, 1 versus 3. Spike down. He's just sprinting. They should know he's here, and it's all too easy as they flash him through. 6-5, eXiLe Academy. 1 away from equalizing.
Last round in the half.
Turret out.
6-5, and obviously the tie being close. And as for now, it should be a clear tie at this point from an economic perspective. It's so mixed, and you know this is where I'm somewhat sad to see that Dreamwalker and all their players stopped their aggressive position taking kind of approach. That's a little unfortunate in my eyes. You see them right there. You saw them push A long from time to time. They stopped doing that at one point. Sure, they were taking aggressively the room. Stopped doing that. It's somewhat saddening.
Oh, they're pushing into the Lion's Den once again. Lots of utility being expended by Killjoy to try and deny them. Their short control has not been something that has been battled for too much, but it has mean they've had to run the gauntlet multiple times, and this is the man we want to watch. McConsty in position. Behind the Omen smoke. Now, the fade could put him in an awkward position, but he knows the timing. He's just going to fade away before any real danger occurs, and his teammates have already rotated into position, although a couple of them are still looking to hold on to mid, a bit worried about that flank.
Worried for a good reason, I would say. But again, this is a deja vu. We saw the same thing happening with CONSTIPEEK. Identical movement, identical way of taking the room, and still it works. Now it is about timing. How much time can you give eXi? Finds the first. Start is out. Where is his teammate to help? Oh godness, oh goodness, not enough.
Yeah, good finish to the half. And actually, like, Dreamwalker, after what was an initial 5-0 start, they end in a similar fashion, like getting the last couple of rounds, making sure that they at least get the half victory, which I definitely think they deserved. At the same time, for eXiLe Academy, when you're 5-0 down, ending the half 7-5, I don't think you're going to be too unhappy with that. So definitely not out of the question that they'll turn things back. And as said, the worry for me is that realistically there was 1, maybe 2 players now, if you add Kelton into the mix, that really dragged them through these sort of rounds. Like, I don't think there was a whole lot of team play, a whole lot of synergy. So I'm hoping for Dreamwalker's sake that they do have a decent amount going into their attacking side. Otherwise, I'm not too worried for eXiLe Academy to bring this one back, especially considering I believe this is their choice.
It is. You're absolutely right. It is their choice. Over their Unbinds, voluntarily picked Dreamwalker. It seems like they decided which color should the guillotine have over their Unbind. And, that worked quite well. For now, it's about, the pistols as usual, the momentum you kind of gain with it, the advantage, the following round, weaponry-wise, building rounds, building momentum, building speed, showing dominance. It's the window of opportunity for Dreamwalker, and they really have to finally wake up their monster. They all have inside of them. At the same time, eXiLe, on Bind, they showed it. Now it's time to finish it.
Nice work from Butcher. JCB can only find one, and it is that breach that manages to get a second entry. eXi's decided to just abandon the site, give it up, and try and reclaim this one with the rest of his team. They'll have to break through the barrier if they're going to have a chance of getting back into this site, but the fact is there's been a long rotation, so realistically they've been able to clear all the flank, hold on to positions from behind, and I don't see a way that eXiLe actually get back into this.
No, I don't either, but Bind has showed us how much they can do at time to time, destroying the bot. That's important. eXi, low HP, but still there's to Blaze Sword is concussed. But oh no, they don't find the kills. Ouch. 8-5. And I remember of a very, very clear statement of yours back over there on Bind, where you said, eXiLe sometimes do plays that are not smart and not intelligent, yet they work because of their individual strength. That push through the smoke on short, again, was for me a moment where you would have said, that was not a smart play. That was, in my eyes, not a smart play. He got one frag, but not two. And this, at the end of the day, is still considering, you know, to not hold him up or try to go for a better moment in that.
Yeah, definitely some, well, I guess what you call unnecessary risks. We are going to see the push coming through. Nicholas trying to find the opener. Definitely look better on this map. Actually, Zenny starting to get caught out with some of his plays. Shorty, obviously not going to be too viable from many angles, so he's just trying to find one where he can hide. But the fact is, it seems that for Dreamwalker, they're actually taking this one nice and slow.
Dreamwalker, by the way, a team were in the previous of this tournament. Talked to Blazor, who's the IGL. Asked him about a weakness of his team. He said, we don't have an experienced IGL. I think that's actually a quite good thing to say, that somebody can actually, you know, reflect on himself. And, you know, as that flashbang was definitely reflecting into the face of Bloodwing, Noonan and Co try their best to hold down that B site. Ain't happening.
Nicholas, clearly hungry for some extra frags. Of course, for him, if he manages to get his ultimate here, then he can just use that into the next round. Doesn't really need to worry too much about the investment of a rifle, but it seems like he's going to be a little bit off being able to afford that ult. Actually, he's quite far off. He still needs 3 more ultimate orbs to be able to get there. 9-5, though. A very good position for Dreamwalker to be in, ever closer to taking us to that third and final map, which I believe will be Haven. Middle ground, you could say. And honestly, this has looked more like a Dreamwalker pick than the last map.
Agreed. And, you know, a little odd to some degree. Seeing this back and forth and back and forth. Now, for me, at the same time, that makes this tournament series so exciting. I mean, Logitech power this to give that German scene the kind of strength and the kind of competition you want to see. And it is where the real talents come out. I think CONSTIPEEK is a name you definitely want to write down. As though
he just
eXiLe
died to an
starts.
aftershock.
Yes, he did.
How did he die
Unusual,
to an
isn't it?
aftershock? Like, it gives you a
him.
warning of, like, don't stand in that. That does lots of damage. But, you know, clearly didn't get the memo.
Standing ahead.
Red does normally mean danger.
Yeah, maybe his genetics are a little different. He has a difference.
Wait, in Germany, does like red mean like go this way?
So,
it means go.
No. So also, no. Traffic lights.
Efficient.
Also, the red means stop. No, red means.
Really?
Yeah, red means stop. Very ironic that the German trains are all red. Either way, 9-5 it is. eXiLe Academy lost the player recently in the process. The spike away from the A site, and you know, my eyes are telling me that there's not too much left on that clock. No.
It's really not gone great. McConstie's actually managed to get them a position here, but the problem is the time. And now they're having to run into a site where they don't actually have control anymore. Butcher's going to try and push through. He's got 8 seconds. If he dies, it's over. But he might actually manage to make it into the site. His teammate taking damage. And he's going to get the spike down with a split second to spare. 0.5 or something on the clock. It gives him a chance in the clutch situation. And they're waiting to team up over on the defensive side. Now, eXiLe Academy, they desperately need this round. They're in the same scenario we saw from Dreamwalker in the last map, where their economy is in tasters already. Even a player lost him might not be enough. And Butcher, he's going to play up close, but this time he won't be able to hold on to it. It will be a round for eXiLe Academy, but as we sort of mentioned, this is a round where they still had the SMGs. So a spike plant plus dropping 3 players for Dreamwalker, that's still pretty good.
It's a little shocking to see. It's a little shocking to see for me personally to see it ended up that way when, you know, they had this at the 30-second mark. They decided to swap sides. valid. Especially considering valid because they had the room on the side, right? McConsty was on it. But that is the only variable in this that unfortunately lost that so important ground. It's not even a big blame. The guy's on 19-7. You can't blame him too much over all of this game. At the same time, that was a crucial job he should have done.
Oh, he waits out the time for the turret to actually spot him. Now, considering that they won the round, the fact that you can see a player close only has an SMG, Bloodwing that will be, and then I'm pretty sure they've got a Bucky in the mix as well. Like, this is not a good purchase for eXiLe Gaming. If they make this worse, sure, it might mean that they're in a good position to actually come back into this map. If they lose this, however, we might actually just have to call it done. Like, you'd be looking at 11 rounds or 11-6 before they get another proper purchase on the board, and then they have to pretty much win out from there to even have a chance to win in regulation. This man, though, still with a rifle in hand, but actually just gets ruined. The early start to this round has not gone to plan, as Kelton already going to take the victory. However, this might mean that Zenny actually manages to get himself a gun.
Says thank you for that. Nothing personal with you dying. Didn't mean it that way.
30 seconds left.
And for now, it's for me a situation where, again, the clock is ticking, but you know, the clock can tick as much as it wants to, because a single Killjoy, a single Consty. Exactly. They got A.
Yeah, considering this is still a pretty close situation, the fact that they managed to just get A for free, it's just a poor rotation. And I don't really know how McConsty actually manages to get him behind. This is looking like it's going to fall apart. Nicholas is in a prime position to just take down multiple players. I don't think they're going to be expecting him to be here, but they actually do pick the angle. Zenny, I don't know how you knew he was there, but that is on point. However, there's a trade from Kelton. Left completely blind, but he still manages to just wipe them down. 4 kills coming out from the Omen, and that might just be game, set, and match, because that's going to be 10 now on the board for the side of Dreamwalker. And for eXiLe, they're in trouble again when it comes to their finances.
I'm in shock how they once more left up in such a side, and this is where it might be just an academy aspect really comes to it, where this game plan or this game awareness is missing on leaving a site open that way. You know, it's a bit unfortunate, especially considering that Zenny came in with a crazy and nice headshot from the Bucky, but it wasn't enough, obviously. So unfortunate, unlucky, but for now, the A side once more is the goal, and we see eXiLe.
Cover going up.
They don't really care too much about it, do they?
Yeah, again, like, they keep taking these ridiculously heavy gambles, just trying to work out where their opponents are going to be going, and they're not really leaving anything to actually give them a chance to actually win the round. Like, they're just relying on a ridiculous attempt at a retake, and I don't know, I just don't believe that that's going to be possible at this point. Already an afterplant situation, and well, the defenders, I think, okay, that's a nice shot for Bloodwing. That actually gives them the advantage here.
Yeah, was not as expected. Oh, hello there. Oh, the blades seem to be on point. No way those blades were not on point. Dreamwalker again in a situation where they find themselves success. It's a little crazy right now.
11-6. Third map has said looking almost inevitable. Consti still going strong, but now the rest of the squad have really started to wake up behind him, and some of the heavy hitters from the last map seem to have completely disappeared. I think these knives, like, I think 2 of them maybe hit, or 1 of them even, but the others just went flying past him, so completely gone astray. It looked like they were on point from our point of view, or from his point of view, but unfortunately not going to be the case this time. Now they should, I was going to say they should have a purchase here, but actually it still seems like the economy is weak from the side of eXiLe Academy, so this is just looking like an easy walk in the path all the way to the end, and well, unfortunately the Buckies really aren't doing enough.
Oh, you hate to see it, don't you? You really hate to see it. I mean, JCB trying to impress with that Sheriff. Nice try. Well, escapes in time, you could very much say. And as he finds another in Blazor, maybe he can deny that match point for the side of Dreamwalker. A little crazy to imagine, very honestly, but never say never, as we learned from Justin Bieber.
On for a rotation here. Having a fair amount of control. Butcher's just trying to almost fake them out. He's doing a great job of it. Pulling them into this site. There's absolutely no one else here. Now, a gun would be nice, but completely blind. And what turned out, they didn't even need to fake things over. 12-6. As said, a third map now looks inevitable. And at least we'll see a purchase coming in from the side of eXiLe. But realistically, at this point, they'd have to streak 6 rounds in a row just to get to overtime. And I do not believe in that at all.
I'm not going to ask you. I will not ask you.
I think I've already answered the question.
You did, unfortunately. 23 for Exo McConsty. Insane job has Dazzy delivered. I think 17 of those in the first half. And you know, you said it, you usually can do it only once. That's nice and great. At the same time, it was more than enough. His impact was massive over on this map, and it's pretty much secured them the ticket for Haven in case we see this even happening. There's still overtime, hypothetically.
Not really any damage actually done by the Hunter's Fury either, so their last-ditch attempt really isn't going too well. Although Zenny does at least manage to find himself a pick. So starting off with the first blood in their favor. Bloodwing looking like he's about to be spotted, but in fact, actually the Owl drone goes a little bit further past, so he's able to keep his angle. A bit of a cheeky spot to be holding. Actually, it seems like the full force of the offense are actually going to rotate into what is a 3-man stack.
And as you see right there, McConsty at it again. No way. Is there somehow any possibility to finally stop him? We had a man advantage over on the side of eXiLe. And there was a man who ruined it again.
A 3 versus 4 retake, a tough one at that, hoping to try and do a bit of spam damage through the wall, but nothing really connecting at this point. Kelton still in a fairly aggressive position, but he just looks to take the fight. He's been having a far better map than what we saw on the last one. Still not performing badly as Viper, but Omen definitely seems to be his strong suit. Butcher holding at the back. He's got himself plenty of utility to try and deny the push. Even has an aftershock, which he could just stick on the spike to try and stop them. Defusing it, but there comes eXi. He sprays down 2 of them. Blazer coming in from behind. He's just waiting this out. He knows he has this in his hands. A superb resurgence coming out from the side of Dreamwalker. And you know what? eXiLe Academy, they fell completely flat.
Completely flat is maybe a little harsh. At the same time, I see where you're coming from. Unfortunately, though, they pretty much fell to they pretty much fell to only one guy most of the time, especially when they were the ones on the attacking side. It sounds harsh, don't get me wrong. It was a team effort, but at the same time, we could take a look at it in the replays. There were plays from Consti that were just out of this world.
Yeah, there are situations that. But if you're eXiLe Academy, I think you'll know, watching this back, or even just after the match, that you never should have lost them. And that's going to be something that I think definitely plays in the back of your mind. If you lose a 1 versus 4 situation, you're just going to feel silly about it. This round as well, where Zenny gets himself a 4K, like, this could have easily been a superb start for them. And instead it ends up in a situation where realistically it just all goes to pot. Like this peak from Bloodwing, okay, that's a bit of a risk. He was trying to help out his teammates. But how on earth they lost this round, I will never know. There's 3 players there towards that long spot, and every single one of them faces off against him 1 by 1.
Yeah. This round especially really annoyed me. This was really annoying. Consti should, in no universe, should have found that. There was no scenario where she should have been the one that made this possible. It's absurd. It's really annoying. Again, McConsty, they're all facing individually. They're standing in very unfortunate after-plant positions. And like, how much more textbook do you want to win a round? There's no way of doing that any better than that, and more solid and more strong. And is this a replay, you might ask? It's a deja vu. Same thing again.
Yeah, it just seems like they were falling to the same traps again and again. And I honestly, like, these are the sort of things where I don't know if there was like some tilt involved or just like some frustration that was coming in for their side of things, but it just wasn't good enough. And more importantly, it wasn't a team. Like, they were each trying to take these individual fights. They were each trying to face off against different players. Like, oh, I'm going to win this duel. I'm going to win this duel. And eventually they ended up losing the game because of it. So hopefully they'll come back to the same strength we saw on Bind. And maybe we could see like the clash of the Titans with both teams actually playing to the level we know they can.
We might do so, Tom. We might do so. But you know, there's a thing that you are only allowed to do. So therefore, before we're going to do that, I can tell you that we also have a wonderful giveaway running, which you should definitely try. Exclamation mark giveaway in the chat. And Tom, what time is it?
It's time for a break.
Когда есть такая легкая мышка, твой прицел становится как бы твоим оружием. Мне кажется, эта мышка это next level.
A good mouse 100% helps you play fearlessly. With Super Light, there's absolutely nothing holding you back.
Bonjour, bonjour. We are back and represent you nothing else than obviously LVL Valorant Clash Regional, powered by DreamHack Leipzig Home Edition, and obviously Logitech G. That's you know how the cool kids say in slang. That's some G stuff. You know, they even say another S word, but that's some G stuff here, my mate. Like Ender and I really fought like the Logitech Gs. What is that standing for? You know? Is it what is it supposed to? LGs? Not it. We can't do that. So it's a Logitech G, mate.
You're very
this is some
cringy,
Logitech
aren't you?
G stuff. Isn't it cringe to say cringe? You don't say that. You don't say that.
I just did. What are you gonna do about it? Nothing. Oh, I like my Logitech mouse as well. I like mine. It's a
Great.
cool mouse. But I'm not gonna say G stuff, whatever you said, because I'm not 15 years old. So yeah, I ain't throwing
sure?
up gang signs, not doing it. It's a good mouse though. I've got to try some of their other products as well, see what I think of them. But the mouse is banging. I use it every day. And
in the
I'm
kitchen.
very, very happy with my product.
Yeah, in every single room. So we can go into the game, thankfully. Haven it is, and we go to the classics, of course. We saw Haven yesterday, and it didn't get too close yesterday when we saw it. Now let's see what they offer us. Now let's see what they bring to the table.
Yeah, we'll see if there's any major changes. Now, one of them is I do believe that we might be seeing an extra duelist or two, like to take some of those fights. Obviously, we saw triple duelist yesterday, when there was the battle, and there you go, Consti actually playing on a Phoenix this time. So a bit of a change. Something that we've witnessed previously was him actually on the Killjoy, and he was probably the best player within the server. So the fact that he's now picking up a duelist is going to be pretty interesting. I think Phoenix, especially on Haven, actually has a lot of very viable pushes, especially when you think about the run it back. There's plenty of angles, plenty of close range positions, because that's always the problem with the ultimate. So you're going to try and push mid, for example, when it comes to Ascent. It takes you so long to get through all of the angles that by that point your run it back has run out. Whereas with Haven, so many close angles, so many positions you could hide behind, very useful. But also just with the close corners and with the smokes that are thrown down, flashing out of your smokes with the curveball, very, very viable on this map. So looking forward to seeing what he'll bring to the table. And if he has the same individual strength that we saw previously, this could be a pretty decent map. Also, Kelton is sticking with his Omen, which, again, I think a strength on this map is a lot of the Omen play. I've seen plenty of different players that I think you can highlight on this map. Kriya has always been one that I've very much enjoyed, with his ability to TP through a lot of the positions. But also, if you've ever watched Sub Rosa on this map actually play Omen at times, he was always very good at working out where his opponent's utility was. Normally works better if you're playing against a Killjoy, and just smoking off all the utility and then pushing through and being a bit sneaky. So plenty of opportunities for that. Also, again, like, we've got a slight change when it comes to the breaches, which has now disappeared on one of the teams, and Butcher's playing Cypher instead.
Yep, a big bunch of changes, obviously, coming in. Funny-wise, it was Blazer who originally said that he would play. In this case, he would be the one playing Breach mainly, but as we saw, last second change coming in, obviously they swapped it around. Butcher felt most comfortable with playing that agent, therefore they swapped it. And in the meantime, you hear the birds chirping. It's all so quiet and comfortable. Haven can be so romantic, but the peace is just something for a few seconds.
It seems like the majority of the players over on the attacking side are looking to try and make a play towards the A side. Now, they've actually left Phoenix as a lurker, which is quite interesting. I would have always thought that a Phoenix is going to be your entry fragger trying to make the moves, but it's almost like they're trying to fake things out on the other side of the map, and JCB is not having any of it. Bloodwing, though, will at least deny them some extra space, and a bit of an awkward battle coming out from Kelton, but he gets the damage done nonetheless, and will put things into an after-plant position.
Planted.
After plan it is, and eXiLe, who's going to come out soon, is going to try here with his drone to find something. Kelton is definitely on camera, but not tagged, interestingly enough. Still, he's blind, can't see a thing, and should be finally executed. Took some time. Butcher is coming out, eliminated as well, and so it only is one man to make a change. The iGel himself, Blazer, tries, but falls down in the mud. That's round number 1 for eXiLe, and seems like the momentum is back on their side. The last time we saw them lose a pistol, it ended in an uncomfortable 0-5 situation.
Yeah, that's one of the weaker things we've actually seen from the team, has been their pistol rounds. They even lost 1 or 2 when it came to the first map as well, even though they were utterly dominant in their performance there. So it's good to see them get off to a strong start. I'm not going to sing too much of their praises just yet, because I think that was a bit of a gimmicky round attempted from the side of Dreamwalker, like sending your Phoenix onto the complete opposite side of the map to try and sell a bit of a fake. And when that fake failed, it was fairly obvious where things are going in. Now, a weapon that you don't see too much, even though I feel like there's definitely viable moments for it, is going to be the Ares, which has been purchased in to actually battle for mid. Now, a lot of the time, this gun's very good for wall bangs, but instead, it's just going to be used as a mantle to try and hold down onto the B site. A good start from eXiLe, but at the same time, they have lost control of the site.
One enemy remaining.
It is going to be 2-0.
Right.
Now we get to see the investment coming in from Dreamwalker. The rifles will be purchased up, and for the defensive side, they've only got the one. Now, the Ares will lie still in the hands of eXiLe. I do wonder if at some point we might see an Odin come into play, because, of course, we've learnt from Sinatra that this map can very much work with the Odin in play, the spam through the double doors. But for now, at least, it looked like Zenny was going to try and get very aggressive into mid. Instead, however, he's going to be forced back into a corner.
Blazer coming in, clearing a bit of mid right now. Dreamwalker would like to have that first big investment to work, very obviously. And it shouldn't end up like Binds. And this is where I'm asking myself, was Essen just such a weak pick of the sides of eXiLe Academy? Because, again, it was their choice. And that seemed odd in the way it turned. In the meantime, you know, maps have been swapped already in this best of 3. Maybe this is, you know, a nice playground for eXiLe Academy.
Standing ahead.
I wonder if they'll expect JCB to be in that position. It seems like they will. Butcher already going to be starting things off strong. The rifles in their hand, and Dreamwalker are straight back in the driving seat. The remaining defensive players looking to try and get some sort of retake here. The shock darts will land, but they've landed on the default plant spot, and it seems like a lot of players now opting to go for alternative positions just because of how common it is those Sova darts to try and land in that spot. Now, they will manage to get at least one with the Ares, and there's a reasonable amount of damage being done here. I'm actually quite surprised. Bloodwing wrapping back around. He's managed to find one more, but he runs out of bullets. Has to try and take the 1v1 duel. And Kelton realizes, okay, now I just need to play for the defuse. I need to play for the time. The aftershock is going to force him out of position. It's a lot of damage done. But the fact is, it will still be Dreamwalker getting their first round, but at a hell of a lot of cost.
A hell of a lot of cost indeed. And I mean, nearly Omen falling in the end would have been the worst of the outcomes, saving nothing. In the meantime, they still made it through. They still got their first. But eXiLe are like, yep. Let's get those rifles out, boys. And they most definitely do. As Blazer and Cove decide what to go for, you see half armor on 3 out of 5 players. Blazer, the one taking the Bulldog. Utility-wise, we're not so sure. But yeah, for example, only one flashbang on McConstipe. So there's no flashbang, except the one obviously coming in from Omen right here.
Zenny tries to get up to his usual tricks, but Consti is going to be able to get the trade. A quick flame onto the floor. Hot hands to give him some extra health, and right back into a fairly even scenario. But Blaze will not really going to be doing too much in this scenario. Just trying to give him a bit of a better angle. Maybe give his teammates some space to actually get forward. But we're mainly looking at Bloodwing on the site. The breach available mainly for defensive purposes, just to try and slow them down, to stop them pushing into the site. But this is what I wanted to see. The run it back, very low on HP, but finds out some information at least, and will gain back any healthy lost on the way. Butcher, however, has been caught, and look at the spike zest. It's going back.
Yeah, it's moving very far. And yeah, I mean, that's the point in time where Newman is going to find out very soon what's about to happen. Caught one, and that most likely will be the spike. Still has a cage, if you take a good look.
30 seconds left.
Over there on the map. But JCB falls. That could have been that one lurk, then one rotation. They leave the side of B pretty much unattended at this point in time. They fully leave it open and just wait for the after plan scenario. And that might be working so well.
So much for the remaining defenders to try and do. Nomid, it seems like he's aware, and that's going to be a free kill at least. Now, they should have a pretty good idea of where the remainder are going to be. The problem is, can they actually do anything about it? The cage will fall, and actually there's a slight gap in the corner of it. McConsti knows the position of the spike, however, and this leaves eXi all on his lonesome. 9 bullets in the clip, 4 now to try and kill off the remaining players, and absolutely no time. He can make things costly for his opponents at least, but he's probably going to die to the spike as well.
How unfortunate. How massively unfortunate. And again, it felt to me like this is something we saw in Ascent, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it very often felt like there was even a over-rotation coming from eXiLe Academy, that there were sometimes guarding the wrong spots, which obviously can happen, don't get me wrong, but there was not any backup plan to something like that. Sure, it gets a bit more problematic if you have an additional site called C, but still, it didn't feel like it was that easy, that comfortable.
ahead.
And, you know, there was nothing where they could really rely on getting back a site.
Both teams' economy likely to be a little bit rough in this sort of situation. You can see the Bladestorm invested. I do wonder if that's for economic purposes, allow them to invest slightly less into this one. In fact, I believe we've just heard it going on the other side as well. So mostly just pistols in play for the side of eXiLe Academy, but do know Bladestorm on Jet can be enough. I feel like we're just seeing parallels. Both teams doing exactly the same thing, just on opposite sides of the map. We've got the Aldrome going out for one side, so the other throws it out. We've got the Bladestorm going out on one side, the other throws it out. The difference being, however,
Cover going out.
for the attacker side, they've actually got a decent purchase here. McConstite leading the charge. This is what I wanted to see. Send that Phoenix in to try and do some damage.
Right here.
It's funny that they didn't put their cam anywhere. eXiLe left that option open in such a rounds, and here comes the Hunter himself, dashes through, and he's like, wait, that was my kill, and suddenly nothing works with the Bladestorm. Still, it is man equalized. Nicholas is there, though, to find those kills. Seemingly, though, fairly low HP. One shot off the Sheriff should do the job, and now it's time to stick it? No, fake it? No, it doesn't work either way. Didn't half it. And so he knows where at least Sova stands, but other than that, no real chance. That dart doesn't help anyway, by the way. So he's gonna fake it once more, tries to find that headshot, still doesn't do so. Maybe one more time. Daft Punk at one point starts playing.
Well, Dreamwalkers, they've got themselves the lead. Now, that wasn't the best of rounds for them. They still managed to lose a few players along the way. eXi as well, doing some damage, and it was more the shotgun that actually came out, which from Nomit was pretty close. He almost gets Nicholas, and if he finds that kill, I genuinely think they probably win themselves the round. So a bit uncomfortable, a bit cagey. And now we get to see Zenny actually on his weapon of choice. Now, the operator, probably one of the most clinical things when it comes to this map in particular. A lot of positions you can get aggressive, a lot of places to push and try and find picks. However, it's actually the opposing Jet of Nicholas to find the first kill.
And so Kelton and Co. with that one round advantage. They seem to be having a bit of a, you know, favorized role over on C. We really saw them storm the side easily. At the same time, it was eXiLe Academy having no options really left on defending there, and that led to a position where, well, Zenny might have said, you know, I'm gonna swing Silong. What do you want to do about it? And gets the frag with the operator. A minute is left on the clock, and perhaps that leads to a charge over on A.
And again, it seems to be that they're almost playing a retake strategy when it comes to this A-site take. And it's not working. It really hasn't been successful so far. They've got a lot more utility than we might have seen before, but giving a free after-plant position over to Dreamwalker because your defense on other portions of the map is a real worry for me, at least. And we are going to see Zenny trying to get some work done with that operator. No Bladestorm to support, and there's still a Hunter's Fury ready and waiting if they do want to go for it, but I don't know if they're actually going to need it here, because it's just going to be what looks like a fairly easy cleanup. Butcher just trying to finish everyone off, but Nomit has found two. A quick double to at least make this possible, but the time is ticking away, and he doesn't know where his remaining opponent is going to be. Just waiting behind the cage, in fact, even tapping into it, just trying to bait him into a peek. That is so smart from Kelton. That is genius. Now, what he does there is he walks slightly into the cage so that it makes a noise, and then he goes back out of it straight away to peek the other angle. No way your opponent's going to expect that anymore.
But how unlucky was he with the timing? Because he was really playing it that way, that he still wanted the player to come around the corner. He still wanted to keep on baiting him, thinking that he sticks. And obviously he didn't. And at that point where he swaps, where he changes, then he comes around the corner. It's that feeling you hate when you get timed like that. But either way, 2-4 it is. Dreamwalker will meet an opponent and a foe who hardly has anything left in their bank account. And therefore, they stick to those cheap shotguns, as well as, you know, tiny upgraded sidearms. It's not going to work. The 5th one for Dreamwalker should come our way.
Enemy tag.
Oh, the Owl drone has found information. I do wonder if they're going to start realizing that basically the Phoenix is just playing as a lurk. So every time you spot Phoenix, that's where you should realize that they're going in the other direction. So this is actually smart from McConsty. He's used an ult, he's pulled one in, and now they go pushing into the other side of the map. However, it does seem like eXiLe Academy have actually made that realization, because they didn't actually rotate 2 of the players off. They left 2 of them on A. Unfortunately, with the weaponry that was available to them, it doesn't really matter, because chances are they won't be able to do too much. But maybe now Mick can actually find himself a kill and get a free rifle.
Target down. Still in sight.
McConsty taking another one out. I mean, there's not much to really bring to the table anyway. And then he's like, can I get this freaking dart out of me? Nope. No time for that. So, good luck and fun. 2-5. Solid from Dreamwalker. Really solid. As it doesn't feel like they create chaos or anything. It's not like they just somehow prevail in the mayhem they have brought to the side. It seems organized, it seems straightforward, and this is something I like. The 5-2 scoreline is well deserved.
Yeah, for sure. I think as well, McConsty, although he's not necessarily fragging out of his mind, I think he's doing a good job of at least holding other players from rotating. So they like throwing in the ult there. It might seem like a waste, like, oh, he's getting an entry kill on the other side of the map. But the fact is, it means that no one can rotate in to help the actual take on the site. Zenny, again, is going to have his operator in. And actually, this looks like a much more aggressive stance. They've peeked in towards A. eXiLe is going to go pushing. Now this angle should be checked. And now that position is pretty much worthless. In fact, they can throw in some shock darts to really try and make things awkward. There's McConsty once again getting the opener. And eXiLe's just dying here. He needs to get a kill, and he gets absolutely nothing done. Dreamwalker is, well, they're literally walking away with it. And now the operator player of Zenny can do absolutely nothing. They are being completely picked apart by Dreamwalker in this scenario. And sure, now Mitt has at least been able to get one. But you can already see the rotation. They realize, okay, we got the picks on B, we've pulled the player over to C, now we're just going to go towards A, and they even have the neural theft to work out if there's anybody there as well. This is beautifully played.
You know, I'm quite sure both Young and Freud would have been very interested to take a look at those dreams that the Walkers make possible right here. A lot to analyze in a form of how that functions. You know, they have some weird objects in their dreams, but, you know, the only object they have right now for themselves is more of an objective. The win after a devastating first map, and they really pull through, as though JCB is trying to make a change here. Smoking short, Blazer is coming in with that important info dart, and if they now enter, they should be seen. They are. Position revealed, and it's even more than one wave of information that comes their way.
Oh, they're just going to try and go for the defuse. They're just sticking it down all the way through, and it's not going to happen. Kelton lets them get to halfway, but there wasn't really any chance of them getting that through. He's having a very good map once again. I enjoy seeing the Viper that he plays, but the fact is he has been fantastic playing the Omen in the last couple of maps. And for the remaining players, sure, maybe Blazer's a little bit quiet, but I think everybody's just been doing their role. 6-2 up on the attacking side. Again, it's going to have to be a bit of an eco, although I say that, and Bloodwing seems to be going for a hero rifle. Not sure how that's going to work. I assume that he's going to push with someone alongside him, but I don't like it, really. I think on the attacking side, I'm much more willing to get behind the hero rifle.
I have to really say, mate, this is the part where I don't know if it's tilt or a big confidence, but you know they couldn't really come back and call the confidence from map number 1, and that is the aspect that I find so unsatisfying for them because it was a wonderful kind of presentation they delivered. Now McConsty is very, very patient. Takes down 2, leaves mid open, crack up the bomb set of A in the meantime. Why not?
Oh, once again. Early couple of picks. Rifle not had any impact as of yet, it seems.
Spike planted.
I mean,
end
what
up
do you want to
keeping
do at
the
this point,
rifle.
right? Yeah, but
'Cause it was
I mean, he
Bloodwing
seems
who
very
had it, wasn't
tempted.
it? Oh,
It was,
see you later,
it was.
guys. See you later. Beautiful. Go
he's gonna
on.
come for
Finish it off. Finish it off, Nicholas. Finish it off.
but-
Oh, no, he's whiffed. Oh, no.
no, I think we got baited, Tom. I think he was buying it while our spectators were holding tap, and then he sold it again. As though you have to say, in the meantime, our spectators, called Sylph and Johnny, are doing an excellent job with camera paths, observing, finding the kills, doing everything right. So, you know, not giving them a compliment, that would be a sin. So therefore, I'm giving them a very big compliment in doing so.
Fair. Fair. Well, 7-2. Compliments might be flying for the Dreamwalkers and for our observers, but they're definitely not flying for eXiLe Academy at the moment. This has been a pretty rough half from them. And we have seen the Blade Storm retrieved now. Zenny over on the defensive side. Also a bit of a push. Now, I wonder if we'll start getting into the deep meta of throwing the Phoenix into an actual push, so that then they think it's a fake. Instead, though, Nicholas... Okay, I was about to say, if he got away with that kill, then I really would be worried. But instead, here goes Phoenix pushing into the side. He's not going to find anybody, though. McConsty has at least managed to section off and maybe given his teammates a little bit of space to push forward. And they're actually just going to go and play off of this. As said, normally he sells the fake. So the fact that now he leads the push has actually almost faked them out into thinking they're not going in this direction.
Spike planted.
And Dreamwalker, ooh, the double darts coming a little late. eXiLe Academy had something ready for that, but again, this is where obviously Sova is that crucial individual that's going to make the change. And now it's about patience. You want to defuse? I doubt it. And as they really try to see where they can land with it, now this start obviously gives them vital information. Hello, there's the bomb to be defused. And as you see right there, he comes the first, nowhere to run. And that should not happen. This spike stays where it is, and you're better gonna cover.
Oh!
Yeah, for a second I was a little confused, but in the meantime, ouch.
Yeah, really nice work from Butcher, but also a few coming in from the Hunter's Fury as well. This is dominant, and I'm quite confused by this, I'll be honest. Like, after the first map, I was looking at this and going, okay, eXiLe Academy, definitely the better team, individually looking better. Zenny, probably the best player in the server. eXi as well, performing to a high standard. Now they've fallen completely flat, and it's the complete opposite. The last 2 maps, well, this one included, Dreamwalker have been by far the better team. They've shut down Zenny. The operator has played little to no part in this map whatsoever. And now they're just having to make really, really risky plays because it seems like they've got nothing left in the tank when it comes to their default rounds. They're just going, okay, let's just try and fight them.
And as the A side is, I mean, only covered by poor Bloodwing. Oh, they were flashed. He could have tried to swing, but, you know, he does the reasonable thing with, you know, falling back, waiting for his teammates. The spike still has not entered A funny-wise, and now would be a bad time. In the meanwhile, there's a flank possibly happening, but they once more retreat and take the traditional route.
Planted.
I don't get the plan here. Like, if you're gonna, you know you've lost the A site. So
Yeah.
they're just playing for the retake because they had still 2 players pushed up in mid. They could have easily gone for some sort of flank. Instead, they just waited and they've let the time start ticking. Luckily, they do have the ability to scan. The neural theft has told them where everybody is. Bloodwing goes jumping down, but again, it just seems this offense is so good at holding on in these sort of situations. The remaining 2 players are finally starting to make their presence known, but they've pushed in separately. They're so far behind everyone else that they could just look to lock this down as a team. And that's the difference at the moment. Dreamwalker are playing as a squad. eXiLe Academy, they're playing on their own.
That didn't look too good. And I mean, this was like their really final chance to get somewhat of a proper scoreline. 8-4 is retrievable, to put it that way, right? And on Haven coming in over on the T side with you know, some high likelihood of a 2-10. It's not like we're talking about something of the likes of a split where, you know, yeah, all right, you can still turn it around, but not like this.
Careful now. Going up.
Oh, he was caught with the blaze in his hands, but the fact is still, Consti is going to get away with it. Now, mate, trying to hold on to the site, but the fact is JCB has been lost over into C, and you can see the push already coming in. Zenny incredibly low on HP, and he's got to be careful because Cypher is up close, is ready for the peak, and they're just going to try and take this one together. Very nice push into this C site. They're also going to have the neural theft to tell them where every remaining player is going to stand. And I don't know. I'm starting to think this is already over. eXiLe, at least, managing to pull one back, Zesh.
At least, yeah, I mean, you put it quite well. Dreamwalker, they still find a way to really lock down the site, build up the walls. Bloodwing is not too interested in any of that right now. And it's funny otherwise, Skeleton falls, Bloodwing on his own again, and Blazer just plays it smart. You know, they dance, they do the ballet. He did not need to fight there. He did not need to fight. No, that was not a reason.
Why did he jump? Why did he jump? The thing is, he could have just walked around and got the kill for free. Instead, he jumps up and just lets the player know where he is, but they've got themselves a strong victory in this half anyway. Bloodwing at least giving them, again, a lifeline. But just look at the streak. They won the pistol, they won the second rounds, and then they lost 9 in a row. Probably should have lost 10 in a row. Like, I think that last round, if anything, was one that they've managed to steal away. But this has been utterly dominant from Dreamwalker. And I have to say, I'm pleasantly surprised after map number 1.
And so, 9-3 is, you know, workable. It really wants more. As I say, every single map depends on the pistol round. Now, with those very, you know, one-sided scorelines, it always depends on that very much. It is a determination of that kind of momentum we might see. And Kelton already going for that kind of early smoke. The orb would make sense to do so. Is Consti sure what he's doing? Is he really going to do that? Yep. I mean, that's the kind of punishment you get.
Kelton at least manages to bring one back, but it's still going to be an advantage for eXiLe Academy as they go pushing into the site. The same sort of A after plants we've seen many a time throughout this map. The question will be, are Dreamwalker any better with their retakes? Nicholas spots one on the cross, knows that there's a player in that corner, but the problem is, can they do anything about it? And JCB, he's just holding onto his paranoia. He's trying to help out his teammates, and that's exactly what he's doing. 2 kills come up. Butcher, he's going to be caught reloading, and eXiLe finishes with a triple. 4 rounds now on the board for eXiLe Academy. Another pistol victory, so they've won both in this map. However, that has not meant anything from what we've seen so far.
I'm somewhat in shock how, you know, that he still got that many frags over in that situation. The right click off the classic is just powerful, period. All you can say about it. As though it is eXiLe Academy once more in the right situation, right kind of position to make something work for them, to get that kind of streak going, the speed on their side. And as they swap the weapons, obviously, go for some, well, more advanced technology, the C side seems to be their goal. Clear kind of idea, and you know they are close to the B/garage section, so their rotation is fast.
Yeah, fast rotation and winning in the afterplants are 2 very, very different things, because once this spike goes down on C, there's so many long-range battles that have to be taken, and a lot of the time the pistols that you have are not quite going to be enough. Nicholas looking to try and lead the charge, but multiple smokes available. Bloodwing, he doesn't care about either of them. He's just going to go spraying straight through and finds at least an initial pick. Blazer looking to try and come around from the flank, but again, not really doing too much. These pistols aren't getting anything done, and while Kelton will at least drop one man, it won't matter too much for the eXiLe Academy side. So they'll get themselves a 5th round, but the fact is, the bye now comes up for Dreamwalker.
So we go. And so we go into nothing else than an outstanding and wonderful scenario of a 5-9. And this is where the fight really starts going. This is where McConsty and co are in a position to bring themselves home, you know, to bring themselves in the direction they want to be. Because if they once more see those cheap weapons bring a victory, then it looks a little dark, then it looks a little sinister, because then they also will be economically wrecked, to put it that way. Spikes down, B-side retake, have fun with that.
Yeah, the B-side is probably the easiest of the lot to retake, though. Mainly because your afterplant just relies on sitting all the way back and hoping that you can find kills, and you can see Nicholas is aware of this, but he loses the battle, and because of that, that's actually a free rifle to be had if they can get in that direction. And with the smokes delaying things, there comes the flashes from McConsty. They're going to push this, they're going to battle this, and with the huge ranged advantage they have, it shouldn't be too difficult. They're at least going to get it halfway, and that means that really it just comes down to the last player killing absolutely everybody, and they're not going to be able to. So a good retake coming in from Dreamwalkers, McConsty leading the charge for the majority of it, and now they double the scoreline of their opponents.
They do, they do. For now, that 5-10 could be pretty much, you know, the nail in the coffin if eXiLe don't find success the 16th round. This is the one where they gotta really put up resistance. Otherwise, they'll waffle most likely to their own failure.
Get out of my way!
Well, they will at least have a strong buy coming into this one. They pretty much went into the last with pistols and, again, a few SMGs. Zenny actually got enough orbs as well in the last round to make sure that he actually has his ultimate here. So he may not necessarily need to have a rifle because those daggers will do the trick. And already finding an opening pick for his team, they're going to try and opt to make a similar play from what we saw from Dreamwalker. The difference is they have their Cypher completely dedicated to this site. Now with the cages, the cam, and obviously all of the tripwires to try and get past, it can be a pretty daunting task. Here comes at least the scan dart to try and find out a little bit of information. Butcher, there's the free kill. Perfectly placed, easy pickings for him. And now the rotations come in from Nicholas, but he gets caught as he tries to transition through. Doesn't wait for the rest of his team to push, and might have caused them more problems than solutions.
I very much dislike that situation. Nick Consty, what are you checking? The right-hand side, and it was so alibi. It was not properly made. eXiLe Academy now have to deal only with one man. That's Blaze, who's right now on the bottom of the scoreboard. It doesn't need to mean that he's bad at it. You see it right there. He's solid, he's strong, and he wants it. Tries to get that fake. He sticks. And are you gonna swing? He halved it. He halved it! And no way that he's gonna continue! Somehow they just rely on him not sticking it. Tell me if I'm wrong, but it felt like he could have sticked the entire thing.
Yeah, I guess you've just got to think from Xy's position. He was just like, well, this has to be a fake, so I'm just not going to peek it at all. He's trying to bait me into the angle. It's one of those things where it's like the double bluff. Like, chances are most players don't have the balls to just stick it all the way through. So, yeah, sure, it was risky, not peeking at all, but fact is most players, as we saw there, wouldn't have stuck it. So, it's another round on the board for eXiLe Academy. And again, an awkward economic position for Dreamwalkers. Now, I'm pretty sure, again, in the purchase just before the board faded away, we had someone actually purchasing up a Guardian. A fairly expensive weapon for what is, I guess, a fairly high skill ceiling gun. Like, it still has that one-tap capability, but, well, if you miss, you're dead.
That's how it should be, right? I mean, everything else would feel wrong.
Eyes down.
And, you know, as you see right here, Dreamwalker somehow take it over. Man advantage, and there's a Blade Storm coming in. And And no one is close. He didn't even tell his mate. He didn't tell his mate about the window player. No way, Nicholas! You have to stop this madness.
Oh, there is the stop, but luckily he's got Butcher alongside him, so this thrifty purchase is enough to get them 11th round on the board, and that could be the nail in the coffin. There really isn't enough money for eXiLe to actually go for anything here, but they have to make the decision, and the decision is to force. They're going to take the risk. They'll have 3 rifles. Utility will have to go and miss on some of those players, and oh, it's going to be a Bulldog and a Spectre. And on the other side of things, they got everything they need. In fact, Nicholas pulling up the operator for one of the first times in this series, so we'll see if he's got that in his back pocket as well.
Absurd. Extremely absurd. (11-6), a round that should have never belonged to Dreamwalker, and they still make the dream come true. It's the quarterfinals. Last time they made it to the semis, they were falling to Nerd Town. And, you know, this is a tournament where they most definitely can once more bring their name to the table. Where they once more can show the world, or most likely in this case, the majority of Germany and the rest of the German-speaking region, that they are a force to reckon with.
Well, at least for now. Looks like the Academy team might be remaining the Academy team. They're not looking like they're in a good position to try and get this one through. Nice work from eXi, though. That's at least the start, and he had his teammate actually hold on. Now, this is going to be the neural theft once again. A lot of information gathered as all of the players are in mid, but the second they're scanned, they decide to go back on the rotation into A. The problem is this has been realized by the defensive side, who have brought in the cavalry. CONSTIPEEK, we know, many times has been able to save his team. The flash, oh, it catches, but it's a little bit too late. Butcher comes in to try and deny, but the fact is, it's going to be left all onto Blazor once again. A clutch situation, a failed one last time, and, well, he's given away his position with the cage. So the question is now, what do you actually opt to do here? They've got the Rolling Thunder available to them if they actually want to use it, but chances are they're going to try and save that for another round and just look to try and deny this man. The cam will give the information, and Naumit will give the kill.
There you go. Naumit. The one who brought them just that final frag for themselves. A little look on the scoreboard tells us that there's no major difference over on eXiLe. Nothing too crazy. Blazor, the only one really lacking behind on the eXiLe side, but I mean, he's the IGL. We know this kind of thing. It is somewhat valid, you know, as an IGL to not perform that amazingly well. Also plays Sova, which is usually not that frag-heavy kind of an agent. At the same time, Butcher with 19 kills on Cypher. It's a little surreal. And again, those rounds, those were the ones where actually eXiLe can, you know, dominate easily.
They're definitely starting to bring this back at least into contention. A Bucky. So many blind players as well. There is no chance. Have they spotted the second one, though? There is still another player that they've got to deal with. Blazor tries to be a hero. A nice attempt at least, but it's not going to be round winning. And last player in Butcher at least has a gun to play with, but with the remaining 3 players already falling all the way back, I'd be surprised if they get much more done.
Cage triggered.
I might be a little too crazy, but just the thing, he can stick it if he wants to. Stick it if he wants to. First one comes out, but again, a weird plan considering the situation. At the same time, they had to do it that way. 8-11, and eXiLe and Dreamwalker, you know, the first map seemed fairly one-sided. The second one, same as well. Even ground, even battle. And this is wonderful to see. This is where the real competition comes out. As yesterday we saw sometimes a few one-sided things. Icebox obviously getting us into overtime was exciting as hell, but now on the first map it all comes down. You know, the last really blank nerfs. The real kind of situation where you need full focus.
That goes there.
And it's not too much separating eXiLe from the opportunity of a victory.
Oh, Naumit. Just about going to survive here. Takes a lot of damage in the early stages of this round, of course. Still a streak needed from the eXiLe Academy if they're going to get themselves through into that semi-final spot, whereas Dreamwalker just needing a couple. No mistakes really allowed. We're actually going to stack up in the early stages over towards the A side, but you can see instantly Nicholas will start rotating back towards C to try and throw in some support. Butcher with a decent cam will spot the players coming through into Garage, and they'll now know that this is going to be a split into the site. And Butcher's left completely blind. eXi with a freebie frag to start things off, and Nicholas now waiting, hoping that he can find some sort of kill. Not going amazingly well. A bit of a whiff from Zenny, and actually somehow Nicholas gets out of there alive. It looked like he was dead to rights in that situation. JCB also going to be stuck, and well, a single kill coming in here could be enough for them to get back into this round. In fact, Nicholas has found it, continues his push with McConsty alongside him, and now it is left all onto eXi. No Hunter's Fury to deny them. He has to go pushing through, but he lines them up. All three. A quad kill to close out the round, and 9th, keeping eXiLe Academy in this match.
I can't believe it. I simply can't. How in God's name do you just throw the opponent under the bus like that? You come in from short from garage, a narrow pathway, just to really point that one out, where the bullets can easily whiff around your head and hit you anytime soon. And you come out and get the quad after yourself. Jesus Christ. I mean, eXi has proven it on map number 1 that he has balls of steel, remembering when all the opponents were just walking out window, more likely on hookah, and suddenly they make it work like that. We have a little technical pause, and obviously this brings us to the point where you should obviously type in ! giveaway to get that same kind of focus in the game. Right kind of gear for you. Check it out over on the socials of Level as well.
Yeah, of course, everything being powered by Logitech. So that's what's on offer. Zesh decided not to tell you what you can actually win in the giveaway.
Yeah.
There is a giveaway, but it is elusive. I shall not tell you anything about it. Just how to enter.
Why not? You know, it's a surprise. Sometimes.
No, you tell people if it's something good. Like, I don't know, you could be giving away, like, a quid. I don't care if it's just a quid, but it's not. It's Logitech gear, so it's worth winning. You can up your game.
True. I tried, you know. I was trying to make, you know, this kind of, what am I getting? What's the magic behind this? But you ruined it, Tom. But I mean, you know, I shouldn't have done it anyway because I knew you were going to ruin it. In the meantime, we can take a look at it again. Look at it. Look at that. Okay, the first one is good, and then Phoenix comes and swings. How late he swings. It was for free.
And it's really done a number on the economy as well. Like, again, you have to look at how much damage it's put on to this defensive side. Like, they've got a couple of Buckies, a Bulldog, and some Spectres thrown into the mix. It's definitely not a good purchase. Of course, one cheesy round, one risky take, anything paying off in this sort of scenario could be enough to get them the game. And McConsty, he's trying to hide in this angle, but they know he's here. So it's almost worthless being in this situation. In fact, he's dead. There's nothing he can do. No real support from teammates either. And now they're going to start pushing in. Now, there is a complete stack on this A side. Every single member of this defensive team is waiting here. So if there was any chance... Oh, no! He gets stuck, not quite able to get the height that he was hoping for. And even though they put every single member of the defensive side on A, they only got 1 kill.
And I have to say right there, 10-11. It's one of the tightest games we had so far in this tournament. Obviously, besides that, it is, for me personally, something I have to say that is so Icebox-like about yesterday. The back and forth, the back and forth. Both teams not really finding the grip, not finding the weakness, you know, where they can get the foot in the door long term. And Zenny, how unlucky. Trying to hide behind the box, but too late.
All I'm learning from this match is maybe Haven's a bit more attacker-sided in Germany than I thought it was, because both teams have now completely dominated their attacking side and been, well, pretty poor on their defensive side. Not really getting any economy built up, never really getting a streak. I like how we have the cams both looking at each other, almost just staring at each other through a looking glass, but Not really going to gain any information from that other than the fact that there is a camera there. And while the attackers have decided, okay, we're just going to continue to push this. Now, McConsty's playing the game of, I played this last round and failed miserably, so what's the chances of me playing it again? And to be fair, they didn't check it the first time. But it doesn't matter, because he goes down anyway. Not as much impact as he would have been hoping for. And now they have the neural theft to give them that extra information they need. They know that Cypher is lurking around the back of the site. And in fact, they've decided to just jump out of there. Okay, you want to stack up, you want to put multiple players here. We're going to rotate around with only 30 seconds left on the clock.
It is actually, you know, not too much left on the clock, and, you know, Nicholas is going to come around the corner any second soon and be like, thank you for those frags, especially if it denies the plants. But for now, he just has to stay where he is, and left, right, and center, the players are coming. That spike is still hitting the ground, but here's the denial. Here you go, Calton and Nicholas pretty much holding it down on his own. Support is coming in the final stages. That's wonderful. It is close, but, you know, overtime is still in it. A quick look at the economy tells us that eXiLe could do somewhat of a buy. They could do a proper buy, actually.
Yeah, they won themselves 4 rounds in a row, so financially they're absolutely fine. The other thing as well is Dreamwalker there had a fantastic read on the situation. So after the neural theft comes in and they've been spotted on the A site, the second they get spotted, they actually rotate 2 players over to C just to make sure they're ready for that long rotation back. And although I don't think eXiLe necessarily made a bad play, the fact that Dreamwalker get it so spot on is what actually wins them the round. And now, everything being invested. You might as well take the risk in this round, try and get it through. Unfortunately, it's not really worked out. And actually, you see the spam to try and catch Phoenix. That is a horrible flash for a teammate. Nicholas was staring right into the soul of that one. And actually, the push now starts to come in onto the B site. The defenders are more than ready for this. 2 players, in fact 3, holding onto the cross on B. And if they go pushing in here, Zesh, they might lose the match.
They might. They might. And, you know, considering that, they have a few more life insurances with this. Those life insurances are highlighted in a big floating yellow, but they got to use them. They have not made up too much ground. This is the big issue I see, first of all. They didn't take anything on A long. Not talking about A short. The tripwire there to obviously stop the opponent from doing any massive lurks. But for me right now, it feels like they are just not dedicated. They really struggle right now and seem like they can't find the weakness in their opponent. They have so many misconstructions in the play so far, and with 20 seconds, that clock is ticking. And that clock is ticking faster, louder, and more problematic. Butcher might just try to take anyone down from short of the second while his teammate Laser does the big part of the job. How does he get those kills? Dreamwalker are on it. And eXi, I mean, good luck, mate. You're spotted, you're known, and you most likely are out like that. Jesus.
Yeah, no, a good play in the end to actually finish things off. Like, they managed to not only deny any sort of plant possibility, but also, again, the last couple of rounds from Dreamwalker, they had a stellar read on the situation. So, very impressed. Of course, congratulations to them. And unfortunately, only one eXiLe goes marching on. So, it is going to be the main team that are going to be making their way through into their semifinals, and eXiLe Academy, who are unfortunately out. But they definitely put up a good showing. I just think it was a few, like, silly mistakes here and there. Maybe a few overreads of the situation. Like, the last 2 rounds was them trying to basically get back into position with only like 20-25 seconds left on the clock, which that's pretty damn risky.
It is damn risky. We saw that same, by the way, happen on Ascent from time to time, which is, in my eyes, again, very concerning, very worrying, and something you don't really want to see that way, right? You don't want to see that. We can take a look at the replays over here, which we can offer you over on Haven. A wonderful map to watch, something where I would expect that we would have a different outcome, because it seemed in the beginning like maybe that is that eXiLe Academy that comes in with the strength we have seen from our first one, but they didn't give them each other anything until the end, and then it came really clear who is just the more calm team. That is one crucial thing, if you ask me.
Well, that was the weird thing, is that it started with dominance. Like, that was 9 rounds in a row from Dreamwalker. They lost the pistol, then they won 9 rounds in a row, then they lost 1, and then they lost the next pistol, and then it looked like they were just going to close it out. But then I think it was a streak of 4 or 5 rounds from eXiLe Academy actually brought them back in. It was basically like the last map just until the second half, and both teams really seem to struggle on their defensive side, like trying to throw in operators into the mix. But basically all it came down to, I feel, from eXiLe at the end that stopped them taking it to overtime was I think they started to overthink things. Like a lot of the more basic strategies where they were just going pushing into the site, getting after plants and being ready to go, that was where things worked for them. And the last 2 rounds that they actually lost were both, okay, we've got some positioning, let's try and rotate in the last few seconds, and both times it was a really good read from Dreamwalker. So I don't want to take too much away from eXiLe Academy. I think on the attacking side they at least showed that they were a strong team, but at the same time, those last couple of rounds, you kind of have to go, okay, maybe if you just played to your strengths, played things a little bit more basic, you could have got things through. But again, I want to give the credit over to Dreamwalker rather than really taking it away from eXiLe Academy.
You have to say, especially, I mean, the first map was such a clean sweep from eXiLe Academy. They played up to their strength, definitely showed us that they just enjoy this dusty playground so much. The other 2 just didn't work according to plan. I mean, this is where an academy team is an academy team. This is where they learn. This is where they have to actually, you know, the ability and are allowed to malfunction from time to time, because this is where you can actually build strength. This is where you can learn from your mistakes. So only one team has advanced further, and that means we can very soon take a look in our second part. Yeah, our second quarterfinal for the night, our 4th one overall, and our final quarterfinal overall, which is gonna be between CONSTIPEEK as well as TBA. And you know, I'm a German. I have to know something. So obviously I know something, Tom. Listen. I'm speaking the language, so I could speak to the players. I very much having the opportunity to do so. And one of the things that I found most interesting, there were 2 things that were really pointing out for me, and that makes it so fascinating due to the fact that, first of all, the team of CONSTIPEEK says one of their favorite maps is Icebox. All right, that's going to be interesting. Second of all, the team of TBA is extremely young. We're talking about a team that has 2 17-year-olds, one 19, one 20. And, you know, funny-wise, there's also one lad called Lucky who's 27 years old. But he's, you know, doing the IGL role, of course, as we know. This is where the old ones can come in with this big composure, the long-term experience, and that might be just exactly that. If those individuals, especially the young ones, have this kind of fire that we know how the young ones bring it to the table, then it might be one hell of an interesting game here.
27's still young, you know. It's not that old.
How old are you?
26. You know, 27 is still very young. It's very young. I don't know what you mean. Let's not call him the old one. Yeah, he's still got a long life to live. All right? So we're not going down that road.
I didn't say that, Tom. I mean, we can take a look at what we have right now.
Yeah, I think the thing to talk about as well is throughout the qualifiers, both teams played Ascent of Bind. So the fact that these are the first 2 maps within the series, I think both teams are going to be comfortable. TBA actually went relatively close versus eXiLe, who we saw earlier in the tournament were a fairly dominant force. So the fact that they only lost 13-10, and Zeus was actually incredible in that match. Like the fact that I think he went 25-16 versus a team that we basically expect to take the whole thing. So excited to see how he will play. Phoenix is his go-to on this map, and again, like we saw Phoenix in the last map was relatively effective. I think that this is another map where he's going to be looking to try and make space for his team, get entries, use that, run it back to basically just try and push his opposition back. And again, like we've got a lot of similarities. The one thing that's interesting me is actually how Sage is going to be utilized, because not many players will opt to go for a Sage anymore on Ascent. Like there'll be moments where, like, okay, you can go for certain boosts, for example, and I think on the A site and the B site, of course, there are opportunities to just basically block your opposition in. But with the fact that they can break the early stages of the wall so quickly, that's one of the main nerfs that kind of hurt that agent particularly. So I'll be interested to see how Smile is still going to bring that one into play. I'm assuming that Smile, even though it's a 9.
And this is where I have to say, I'm very much looking forward to Ascent. New, fresh players, new opportunities. And Smile, for example, a name, you know, I have heard before. The B Titans were a team that some might have been aware of. I mean, you know, they have brought very. I have to get it together because I saw them in the past, and this is where I like it so much. Smile, for example. There we go. You know, they played under the banner of Rainbow Mind back then. Thank God my memory is still working. And you know, he actually also got into quarterfinals of the previous level regionals. So. You'll love to see it. Very interesting one indeed. Also played something like Nice Cactus and so, but it's time to now see if they spike, and they do. My goodness, a double over on the entrance of A. And it seems like that site might be already closed for business.
Yeah, Drowsy, however, is already going to bring things back into a 3v3 situation. After plant will be available for them, but they have taken a fair bit of damage onto the entry, and actually Zeus is just going to burn down Drowsy out of that corner. Young one actually manages to bypass. I think Unbreakable just a little bit confused. His teammates just got running through. The right click of the classic may have been nerfed, but he makes it work and almost closes the round for his team. It's a little bit close for comfort, but it will still be the victory going in their favor. So they're called the B Titans, or is that they're called TBA and two of them are the B Titans?
No. So the way I understood it is that they are the former team of B Titans, and they actually separated from them a week ago because they wrote themselves. They have other opportunities, and this is the point in time, Tom, where you once more can say that Sprout is going to pick up a team. So they have other opportunities, they said to me, and this is why they separated from them a week ago. Okay, so the social media manager of Alternate Attacks has said that they are going to be picking up the B Titans. So anybody at Alternate Attacks who is annoyed that this has come out, I was told specifically by Alternate Attacks social media manager. Can't remember his name though. I'm really surprised that you're alive for that long. Either way, coming back to right here, CONSTIPEEK. You know, they're trying their best to do some damage, and they did at least on one of them, but TVA still on the right track. And CONSTIPEEK, that spike's going down. Ba-boom. Bring them some money, bring them some opportunities. That's definitely one thing, but ouch.
Oh, no, that's the 148, the 149?
Yeah.
No, it's just, it does just under, which is probably one of the meanest things I think Riot ever put in a game.
It is.
The fact that it's so close to a kill, but it's not quite there. Drowsy gets given, or Drowsy. I want to say Drowsy because that's what I read, and also because Drowsy sounds like, it sounds awful. It sounds like someone who regularly drowns, which is, that's a horrible name.
What is it with you that you have consistently to complain about the names?
Well, you like the name Drowsy?
No, I don't, but I still... Listen, first of all, it's Downsy. He has written... It doesn't make it any better, but he said he's called Downsy, first of all. Right?
There's an R in his there's silent R's in German?
Listen. Look, I wrote it. I even gave you the information.
It's not my fault he can't write it correctly.
How can you be so horrible as a human?
I'll write it as Downsy if that's your name.
How can you be such a bad
Like if I
being?
put an I instead of an O in my name and someone called me Tim Biz and then I go, no, it's Tom. It's like, that's not my fault. That's not my fault, is it? Like, I've written it wrong, so...
You're a horrible human. Just that you are aware. But I think you are very much aware. You are aware. You are aware. You have a fair point, but you are aware. Either way, getting back to it. CONSTIPEEK taking a bit of mid-control, taking a bit in front of the gates of B, as they so far have not made any clear decision. I'm asking myself, did Lucky, and he's actually also, Tom, it says Lucky, he should be pronounced Lucky, actually seen the Sage in middle?
Sake.
It's Lucky. It's Lucky. I'm not joking. Lucky down.
Oh, Smanile is going to get himself an extra kill. Glitchy in a good position. Might be able to deny the push. Unbreakable has, however, found the kill back. Now, bear in mind, this is still a round where TBA do still have SMGs. So we expect them to lose this round, but we'll see how much damage they can do. Young One able to spell his name correctly and will get himself a double. And in the meantime, the attackers have actually done an economy res to make sure that they keep things nice and strong. Zeus going to be the only one remaining.
That's Zeus now.
Maneinl is going to get himself an extra kill.
Why do you call him Zeus if there's also a 7 in it, Tom? I mean, you have to stick to it.
Because the 7 Zeus is impossible to say.
So 7 ooze.
Yeah, it's not possible. So I ignored that one intentionally.
It is lucky. I can confirm it's lucky.
If you say so, but someone
he told
teach them how to spell.
Recalling my box.
I really hate you,
Yeah,
but either way, I enjoy working with you at the same time. Anyway, getting back to what we're actually being paid for, and that's not complaining about the names. It is about actually casting Valorant. For Tom, it's the same though. And so the attackers place their lockdown. They want to attack that A side swiftly, but look how much time this consumes. That lockdown is, somewhat worthless considering they're arriving on Heaven anytime soon, but still, they made it on the side. That is exactly where the Sage Orbs were so important.
Oh, the shot dart's going over the top, and it does actually do a little bit of damage onto Smile, although he gets away before the second one lands. Young One in a good position, but he's left completely blind. However, he has teammates left to support him. Happen will be there, and actually now the defender Killjoy comes out as well. The lockdown keeping them in position. However, that scan that was superb, and he doesn't actually peek back in to be able to deny it, so it's not going to be able to do too much as the remaining players wait outside. It's left all onto Lackey as he's in for a 1 versus 2 situation. The first headshot was nice, and actually he might be able to get this halfway before they actually go for the peek. In fact, he is just going to stick it. We spoke about having the balls to go for that, and I respect the fact that he does. Unfortunately, it isn't going to work this time.
And again, that lockdown, that defender's lockdown was so odd. You placed it so aggressively. I'm not quite sure if they just had zero awareness how short looked like, but even if you have zero awareness how short looks like, place it on Heaven. There are enough options to actually deny the entire presence of aggressors over on that A site with a lockdown in a safe spot. And this is what really caught me off guard in that sense. Didn't understand it. Either way, it is what it is. And that now means we are heading into round number 5, where Lucky proves what he can do with just a little Sheriff.
Again, a good start to the round, especially for him. He's going to make sure he has that Hunter's Fury available, which might be able to do a little bit of extra damage. In a round like this, I'm not sure it would be the ideal place to use it, but at the same time, if there's an opportunity to win the round, I wouldn't necessarily be against it. Now, if you look over on the A side at the moment, we've actually seen the Killjoy be able to get aggressive all the way forward. So much information currently being gathered up by TBA. Now, sure, as said, this round is not really one where we expect them to be able to win. If they can get their players in the right place at the right time, this is where things could get a little bit troublesome. Now, if you're on the CONSTIPEEK side, this is where you do have to start making sure that, okay, we left this abandoned. We now have to clear the angles later on, and they've not done it. They've not done it at all. It's a free kill, and that's the spike. They're going to have to go back for it now. Unbreakable probably about to realize that, okay, we're now completely surrounded, having to clear out all of this Killjoy utility, and then Killjoy is still in the backline, still in the corner, just waiting patiently. This is a great round coming out from TBA, but the spike has at least been retrieved. There goes the Hunter's Fury, just trying to deny the plant, and has done so. Young One, however, gets a quick double. This might be enough to save them. The push actually not coming in. The spike will go down. I thought they'd try and push that, but maybe expecting that to be a little bit of a bait. Now they go ring around the Rosie. Nikki taking a lot of control instead, but Young One on for the ace. Still got 73 HP and has a rifle. There comes the paranoia, trying to leave his opponent completely blind, but he locks out through the smoke, and Young One will save them. CONSTIPEEK get their 3rd round, and what a superb one it was from Young One.
A very fitting name, isn't it? Very, very, very fitting name. So, as Young One, the IGL, by the way, of the team, is bringing themselves that important round. It is, again, at the same time, a full buy on both parties. Both parties, by the way, coming in with an operator as well. Both obviously on Jet. Very nice to see. I mean, on Essen, it's pretty much a must-have with the open room that is available. But our Kaz has to stay on the edge, and that's nice to see. I'm not quite sure if it was intended like that to block his vision from his default positioning. At the same time, it pretty much did that. And so the mid is a room that can be taken. Lucky has seen one at least, but B main might be just a target.
Oh, we see the operator bought in. Now, the site seems abandoned, but if you look at the amount of utility that currently is in play for this defensive side, this is something that they've done excellently so far. It's just deny any possible positioning, but they actually managed to break one of the nano swarms before they push into the site. So the attackers are going to be able to make that move through, although they have to do it relatively soon. The spike could get caught out. They've got to be careful that they actually clear these angles. And Youngwon, I think, realizing that if he goes any later, the smokes will have faded. Even still, though, a 5v5 retake, very much possible for CONSTIPEEK to make this one work.
And, you know, as CONSTIPEEK tried to make it work with the ults they have and all the opportunities, it's still the classic guns that do the job. Zeus on the right track to now enter. Flashbang is about to come around the corner, and what are they waiting for? It seems like they actually now made the call. Yeah, it seemed for a second though they were going for it. Flash was already enhanced, and then the call came. Safe. And it seemed like a reasonable decision, especially with 5,000 credit operator in hands.
Yeah, it's a pricey weapon to try and bring in at this point, but especially in comparison to the cost of the rifles, it really doesn't seem to be worth the risk of that gun escaping them. Youngwon is actually going to get another kill. Lucky goes down, so realistically, this has been a hugely successful round. Only 2 players end up surviving. Money not really in a state that they can repurchase. Of course, not really getting much, if any, loss bonus now for saving the guns on the defensive side. And for the attackers, look how much cash they've got. Like, the lowest they have is 3,100. Everybody else is around the 6k mark. So CONSTIPEEK are in a very, very good spot after what was just the pistol going in their opposition's favor.
And as you see, they don't know, I wanted to say. They don't know, and then it could have been so nice to see if that owl drone didn't spot him. And at the same time, it did. You hate to see it. And now it's a quick and swift move to beat. They're really not stopping. And this is a very nice sign because somehow they had the awareness of what is happening over on A. The over-rotation happened. The wall is from Smile is nice. And that is a free one over on B. The 5th round should be secured. TBA doesn't have to offer too much. And it's wonderful how the arrow gave them the final bit of information.
I'm actually surprised that that wall is still as successful as it is, considering that is like a day 1 wall that has been used. Like, people worked that one out very quickly. Nice work from Zeus, though. The rifle that he saved over actually doing quite a bit. Unbreakable, looking to fall back, but this ends up in a 3 versus 3 situation. Now, they're going to go pushing forward, but I think they've realized that they don't have the time to continuously battle versus Unbreakable. They need to get rid of some of the other players and actually happen with a whiff. Unfortunately, though, it's Drownsy to actually find a double, and Arcos is left in the same sort of circumstance. Okay, just save that operator, bring it into the next round, where you'll have, hopefully, a decent buy this time.
And this is where, once more, you hate to see it. You hate to see it due to the fact that TBA is constantly in a situation where they're broke again and broke again and broke again. I mean, they have a great losing bonus, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, CONSTIPEEK is stacking racks. They don't have rounds, or in the past 5 rounds, they didn't have too many where they lost the majority of their players, which leads to this massive bankroll. They have 1 or 2 more rounds, 100% with buys. And with the amount of rounds left in this half, 5, it's not bringing them, you know, this is not the safety TBA was looking for, because there's still, the momentum cannot be stopped that easily, and especially with shots like this. Oh, man.
A very good start to the round once again. And as said, since the pistol, it's not been a single round going to TBA. They've been close a fair few times, however, but CONSTIPEEK just looking too much for them. A lot of big individual plays, strong rotations coming out from them as well. Breakable just waiting patiently with that operator. Literally haven't been able to do too much so far. Actually, a few shots coming back through the wall. But again, they just seem to bait them into these rotations. They pulled a player off. Now, there is going to be the operator watching towards B, but after the shot is missed, this is where they could just look to pounce. But the fact is, there's hesitation from the side of TBA. They're not going to rotate anybody back just yet, and they're going to leave Arcos as that sole defender of the B site.
And as again, the timing becomes an issue.
Out of my way.
It is Arcos who finds one. TBA on the right track. 15 seconds we are talking about. And that's the spike for you. See you later, mates. This is not hitting the ground. I don't see Universe Mutates. They still don't find each other. It becomes awkward. But the spike is not going to hit the ground. That means CONSTIPEEK will not get their 6th. They will not end up in finding at least that very important number. And so TBA comes closer. This was the important round that now brings them in a situation where they can buy up again. And in the meantime, sure, slightly costly for CONSTIPEEK. But as you see, 8.1k on Unbreakable, 5 and 5 back on Smile and Drowsy. It's all right.
Yeah, they're not going to be too worried. They can go into this one with a fairly comfortable buy. And again, for the defenders, this can't be a one and done. They need to make this into a streak of rounds. I do wonder if there might be a slight pace change, because at the moment, CONSTIPEEK, a lot of their rounds are just peek one side, hope for an opener, and then basically rotate away and try and go in the other direction. I would like to see them just go for a full group up and try and take one of these sites early on, because instead they are sort of giving TBA opportunities to actually rotate around and find out a little bit of extra information. And as you can see, Arcos, he starts the round off in mid. Now he's playing up into the rafters of this A site, looking to try and find an opener. And actually, they're pretty confident that there's going to be a push in this direction, because they've used all of the Killjoy utility already.
Spike planted.
And for now,
You will not kill my ally.
it seems like Smile and Co. have to find the way back into it. In the meantime, Happen dies. Wait a second, CONSTIPEEK get on the side and they die like that. Unbreakable joins that pack, and the defender Killjoy might do the rest. They need to find it swift and fast. And again, I do not like this lockdown again. 3 more seconds, it has been destroyed. And lucky retake, and it seems impossible. I've talked about it. This is really one of the worst lockdowns you could do, because you're not actively forcing them away when they can frag you from short like that.
Yeah, I think it works best if you already have short control and if they're locked into the site. If they're not locked into the site and they have the control, then you sort of have to battle for it. And yeah, it definitely has its risk behind it. Of course, if you do the one further back, it doesn't cover all the way into the back corner of A, so then they can hide back further and it's not really too much of an issue. So it's sort of like finding the middle ground. I guess from their perspective, they're going, okay, I'm putting it here and then we're going to win the battle on short. So if you're confident that you're going to win the round anyway, I guess you're kind of going, well, we have to get these kills either way. If there's a lockdown, it doesn't make a difference if we don't win those duels. So doesn't work. CONSTIPEEK have done some real damage to the economy of TBA once again. Although the loss bonus should be fairly far built up. It doesn't really allow for buys every single round. And while we're going to see this boost come in, as said, this is a day one boost. This is something everybody's going to expect, and Arcos will find the pick onto Smile.
You love to see it. You definitely love to see that. And, you know, CONSTIPEEK as well as TBA are most likely trying right now to get that push going. And over on the A site, the little Killjoy waits. TBA might have found an entry against Sage, who, by the way, did not have her ult ready, so that's already somewhat comforting. And at the same time, this is interesting to see because TBA, I think, never really dared to push A long. And at the same time, they don't have any information. So whilst they are focusing on that B side, it could have been worrying. At the same time, here come the frags. And it still is TBA in the charge.
Spike planted.
Yeah, a very workable situation, though. It's going to be Roundsy still in play. He's got to be careful because one of the main weaknesses of this lockdown is you can break it with this over ultimate, but he waits until they use 2 of the shocks, and then he's able to put it down, trying to hold them back. And already Youngwon and Drownsy have found themselves a couple of kills apiece. It leaves Lackey alone. It almost seemed like he was deciding to save already, using that Hunter's Fury to try and find a frag, and after he doesn't, he almost just lets his teammates die. I'm curious what his decision is here. Is he just going to try and get some exit kills? Because although it will do some damage to the CONSTIPEEK economy, I feel like it was worth going for in this situation.
And as Youngwon falls, it's again a story we, by the way, saw in our previous Ascent match. One player leading the table, and that is obviously a man who has a very easy name to remember, Youngwon. 16 frags on Omen, no big surprise. At the same time, yeah, I'm a little disappointed by Unbreakable considering the choice of the weapon he has. As an entry player, you might die early. Don't get me wrong. This is a thing that can always happen to entries, right? But at the same time, as an entry player with Jett, you know, in such a game where the roles determine somewhat what you should be capable of doing, it's a little unfortunate to see him down on 4 frags.
They're winning though. 7-3. I don't think he's gonna care.
No, obviously not. But you get the point, I imagine.
Yeah. I guess it depends. If he's doing his role, I'm not really too much of a problem. Youngwon, he's been picking up the slack. He's had a phenomenal game so far, and well, they're even bringing in maybe a shotgun or 2 of their own. They are eventually going to deny the nano swarm, so not going to be able to stop the aggression, but the slow coming out from Sage is going to make things awkward, and then the spam through gets 2 kills. That is absolute filth. Zeus trying to make a play back through the corner, but Lackey now left completely blind, and Youngwon so aggressive in his style, but I think there's nothing more beautiful in this game than an aggressive Omen player. Like, if you can get that down to a T, if you can find those picks, if you can use the abilities to the top of their peak, you really can be a terrifying force. And Youngwon, 18-8, there is no one even close to him in the server.
No, absolutely. I mean, at that point, it's just enjoyable to watch, you know, players pop off. And I think this was one of the major storylines when we talked about the LVL Clash Regional, powered by DreamHack and Logitech Home Edition, was obviously having those new individuals step up and really make a name for themselves, you know, make a big impression. And there were a few names so far that really stood out. And again, it's going to continue that way. Unbreakable, for example, is going to continue with pure domination.
Give me those back.
Yeah, well, this seems to be more of what you wanted to see. Just pushing straight through with the daggers, and
Spike planted.
well, he didn't even care about the fact that he got tagged early on by the dart. It was just like, okay, well, I'm not stopping. We are going to see as well the Hunter's Fury thrown in. Might as well. It is the last round, and it's 9-3. A dominant half coming out from CONSTIPEEK, really looking like the better squad. I saw that Level actually tweeted out the fact that the chat had voted CONSTIPEEK to win this one. I think the majority of them, I think it was almost 70% of people believed that they were going to be winning this match. So definitely interesting. I wonder if they could have predicted how good Youngwon is doing, though. 19 and 8, a couple of assists to boot. But let's see if they can turn this around on the TBA side. Like, going into the attacking side, they do have some pretty aggressive agents. Like, the Phoenix is one that should definitely be doing more on the attacker side than the defensive side. The same as Arcos as well, and maybe even a little bit more coming out from Omen. But we'll have to wait and see.
You couldn't have said it any better. We have to wait to see. And as we're waiting, and hopefully seeing soon, we're going to find out about that. As for now, 9-2-3 is something where you can just put a check mark behind if you once more, haha, I said for the 7 millionth time, the pistol round going. And as CONSTIPEEK have a nice idea on what's happening on short. Here comes a flash, and now the stampede is coming. And Smile is not having a hard time for himself. What in God's name? How is he alive?
Impressive that he manages to get a kill, and they are not watching any of the angles. Unbreakable, Young One, both able to get themselves a pick. Lucky's actually stuck behind the wall, so they're just going to be able to isolate both duels. That is superb.
way.
That ice wall is flawless. Just puts it down at the last few seconds, manages to get a kill. Great round from Smile, and then of course Young One and Unbreakable there to pick up the pieces. 10-3. Pistol going their way. They didn't manage to win the first one, and then they only lost one round after the pistol and follow-up. So now we're looking at potentially a very easy path to finish off their map choice.
Very much agreed. I was very much in shock, and at the same time, how Smile was not killed in the process. Like they were actively ignoring it. At the same time, he was just not seen. It still seems odd. It still seems very odd to me that he was not the first dead. Unbreakable in the meantime trying somewhat of a one-way, but they are not falling for it. Mid and A are the main aggression points, and well, if CONSTIPEEK bring it home early, we're gonna find out. Jesus, that was close.
Oh, cheeky ult at least, a bit of a bonus, but the paranoia is superb. He may be the man at the top of the server, but the utility has not been much worse. Will, however, get tagged desperately low. Now, he's got Smile to support, a little bit of extra HP, of course, not quite as effective as it used to be, much slower in its health regeneration and also doing less. One of the, again, the nerfs that came in to try and basically get rid of what was pretty much a staple agent, or at least reduce the pick rate of Sage. Still, though, very aggressive from Smile. He's going to go pushing through the Molotov. Battle's being taken by Young One, and well, he may have whiffed the initial shots, but give him a second chance, and he will destroy you. Lackey going to be the only one remaining. Does at least get one. Chance to get the second as well, although it's not going to happen. Young One ends with a triple kill, and I'm sure they're going to wish they'd killed him when they had the chance.
Agreed. As now, that 3-11 leads to a very hairy situation to TBA. A quick look on the scoreboard tells us that, you know, they got the weapons, they got no money, sure, but they got the weapons at least. And that will lead now to a point where I have to say that they're going for that one way? No way, they run into that one way. Still, it's man equalized. They stopped the push, at least temporarily.
Yeah, again, this is the round where, in terms of money, in terms of investment, TBA are miles ahead of their opposition. Like, you noticed Happen only had a pistol, a stinger for Smile, so even if they get 2 or 3 kills here, this is a successful round. The only person with a rifle is Young One, and while sometimes that could be enough, Smile actually comes in as well with the stinger. Now they've both upgraded. Both players with rifles in hands. They're in with a real chance to actually steal this round away from TBA. They're in such a good position initially. Now they're having to battle for their lives. Smile again is going to leave it down to just one, and this was the thrifty, this was the small investment that ends up coming through to steal a round away from CONSTIPEEK. That is a painful loss for the side of TBA.
Match point.
Match point it is. And match point very well deserved this. 25, by the way, is an outstanding number considering the amount of rounds we have played. This is the thing, we only played 15 rounds so far. The man has 25. It's not like we have this amount on like a 11-12 scoreline.
Yeah, he's been ridiculous. And then again, Smile there was also superb. The fact that they managed to win a 2 versus 3 with a stinger and 1 rifle, and it's the stinger that does the majority of the work, it's impressive. And TBA, this map at least, have not matched up. Hopefully we'll get responses we did in the last series, but CONSTIPEEK, in this one at least, have looked by far the better team. And now they're up against a full buy. Like the last round, they were up against Stingers, Pistols. Now there's an Operator. There's rifles on every single player. Young One also going to be throwing in a couple of one-way smokes. Now, I like that. Now, they've used the dark cover to actually get past the alarm bot, and Happen isn't going to realize that they've done it. So a cheeky play that actually gains Nikki a kill. Question is, are they going to be able to maneuver themselves into a spot where they can actually win the round? And by the looks of it, Zesh, they're going to try and make a play into A.
They are trying to. And, you know, there's enough in defending it for now. The classic thing we said about Killjoy is a good kind of Killjoy always rotates its utility, and it kind of plays. And at the same time, no revive for you, Smile. Unfortunate for him, but Unbreakable is still there to make a change. That omen must have been heard. Young One is trying to make a move, and as we see right there, they must have an awareness. One is on sides, one obviously is down there under heaven/hell. Do they make the move is the question. Do they really want to make the move, or do they rather just play it safe? I mean, they don't really have that much money. Very realistically, it is just missing on the bank accounts, and that's $5,000. That's $5,000 that rather run away.
Yeah, TBA are going to keep themselves in this one. This was actually a round where, realistically, they actually had the weaker of the two purchases. So they get the work done. They find a couple of players in mid. Again, I think that early pick that they managed to get off the back of Omen was one of the main reasons they managed to take home this round. Like, good use of utility to sort of negate Killjoy. And that's one of the biggest weaknesses of Killjoy, is the fact that if you put a smoke over any of her utility, it becomes null and void. And that's where things can fake you out a little bit, because you have to bear in mind, if you're expecting an alarm bot to basically give you a trigger warning if there's somebody there, or if you're expecting a turret to go off and all it takes is one smoke to actually deny that, it can be quite frustrating. And it's something that doesn't really happen with any other utility within the game. So it's one of the reasons Omen becomes so powerful, especially with the regenerative smokes. But in this case, you sort of mention economy, and there is a problem. Like, sure, you've still got the majority of players with a purchase, but there is going to be one man only left on a Stinger. Nice shot, Dart.
I mean, you somewhat hate to see it. At the same time, you love to see it. Now,
Enemy mark.
Young One is the man to obviously watch for the next one, but first we have to finish this. And as we very much experienced so far, those affairs where one player is just popping off, it does not necessarily transfer to the next map. At the same time, we're gonna find out. 1 minute left, no room gained from TBA really so far.
I think Musashi might be the one that sort of like did manage to transfer across.
Yeah.
Now going to see the Hunter's Fury expended. A bit of damage done. Also investing into knives as well. Blade Storm thrown in. Now Nikki's paranoia. That's going to be perfect. Some damage done though. And actually Smile using the resurrection to bring a player back from the fray. It turns it down to just one man standing to try and keep them in the map. And it is not going to be happening. CONSTIPEEK dominate from start to finish as they will take themselves the victory. A superb performance, one of the most dominant performances we've seen in the playoff stage. But now they have to head off, Zesh, to their opponent's ground.
And that's something where you might be afraid, but at the same time, I mean, this was a confident first. Again, when we take a look at the first best of 3 we had, it looked exactly in a way that we just had it. But, you know, we can take a look at the replays and once more experience what we just saw so far on Ascent. Yeah,
I think a lot of this is just going to be a highlight reel of Young One, but it seemed the second they got into the buy rounds, it was utterly dominant. Like, superb plays from him. This round was ridiculous. Like, the fact that basically TBA had this one in the bag and he individually managed to drag things through. He was surrounded at times, but played things perfectly. I do think if they pushed him when he was planting, that would have been round over. But yeah, just intelligent play, utility used well, and honestly, I have to say I'm impressed with pretty much everything he did throughout this map. But yeah, after that point, it just seemed like they got crushed. Like, the fact that the highlights have had to skip basically straight through to a point where it's 7-3 really does show how dominant it was, and shots through walls, pretty much everything went their way.
It's wonderful. I mean, Young One is. If we have like a list, right, of real exceptional talent so far of our regional clash here of Valorant, I would very much say that someone who has to be right there is Musashi, first of all, and now Young One I think can really come up on the list. I think if he could very, very, very much join him up there to be that crucial individual for the site, for the side of CONSTIPEEK part.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. It's only one map, of course, as we mentioned. Bind is going to be coming up next. Now, the thing is, sort of what I mentioned earlier, that both of these teams played both of these maps throughout the qualifier. Now, CONSTIPEEK, the most rounds they actually lost in the qualifier was 5. So they have been dominant all the way through. Like, a 13-4, a 13-1, 13-5. Like, sure, you talk about the level of opposition, but one of those was against the Digital Ninjas, who also managed to make it through, and they pretty much made them look like scrubs. They've just done exactly the same to TBA. So I would say that off the limited data I have, they are the team I would expect to get through to the playoffs, or the further into the playoffs, into the semi-finals. And I'd like to see them there, because so far they've been fantastic. Obviously, Bind is a different ball game, but the fact that they've been dominant in it already, unless there really is something special from TBA here, I do worry that they might be going out in the quarterfinals.
The interesting part for me, especially right here, TBA talking about it, that they are the ones who right now, you know, how do I say this? They have a bit of pressure right now for themselves, right? They are the ones who have to impress in that sense, that they seemingly have new options. They said they have new options, and that is very crucial.
Yeah, alternate attacks.
At the same I really
hope alternate attacks actually sign them now. That would be beautiful.
They will not. They won't. They won't. It will not happen. It will not happen. I know it will not happen. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me.
I thought you're not the owner, are you?
I know it, Tom. For Christ's sake, if I know it, I know it. It's Jesus.
I'm willing
Tom,
it into existence. That's what I'm saying. I am willing it into existence. I'm putting the thought deep in the minds of people that they should be picking up Valorant teams. And I think that alternate attack should be picking up a Valorant team. Otherwise, I will unfollow them on Twitter. You know, I'm threatening them now.
Do it. I had the same thought last year, mid last year. It didn't happen, so it is what it is. Accept it. Accept it. Please accept it, Tom. At the same time, right? This obviously puts a slight bit of pressure on them, because they have to bring it to the table. They have to right now show what they have promised their future organization. And this means we can go on the pick, we can go on Bind, and we can now experience, well, very default stuff. No Viper craziness for us, Tom.
It's interesting, I believe during the qualifier, Unbreakable actually played Jet on Bind, so I do wonder if that's just because of the level of the opponent that they were playing against, or if this is just because, okay, he knows Arcos is going to play it. So a lot of players do that, where they just go, okay, we're just going to counter pick. Like, I think I'm individually the better player. At the same time, we now have Zeus actually switch over to playing Jet instead. So he's normally, like, again, they sort of swap up the roles a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of Jet on this map. I think there are opportunities, like, again, if you go peeking into mid. But I still think that, like, even, for example, Mixwell has previously played Jet on this map, switching up over to a Raze as well. So I think Raze is just so viable on this, especially with the utility, especially with the corners that you can place those grenades into. So realistically, I'm sort of looking forward to seeing Arcos, see what he can do, and also, of course, Unbreakable, who had a okay first map. Like, he wasn't our focus, but at the same time, that's because one of his teammates was going absolutely nuts. Nonetheless, getting into our pistol round, a lot of Killjoy utility already being placed down on the A site. And we will see the boombot placed through. Again, clearing out Hookah with the utility that's there for Raze can be very, very easy. Smile is about to take a hell of a lot of damage, and already Arcos kicking things off with an opening pick. Counter utility going down, but unfortunately it's not going to have anywhere near the same effect.
And so, happen to be at the right place. CONSTIPEEK right now here, that teleporter coming in, and that's a very clear sign for the B side take. They could still take the short teleporter if they'd like to. In the meantime, a quick look at the minimap tells us that Graves is far away from the action. Drowsy has to do it pretty much all on his own and is eliminated. TBA got control of the site, but for how long? Oh no, no way.
Well, Lucky. He's going to be able to get the spike. Unbreakable almost dies to the bot. And actually, Young One still just doing work once again. The tap comes through. So does the dark cover. And Unbreakable actually has his teammate covered. So that will be a round on the board. It looks so good for TBA in the early stages. An early pick going their way. Even getting into an after plant. Yep. And then CONSTIPEEK actually end up winning it comfortably.
What is that? Tom, is that the market? Aladdin. Lamps, as they say. And what do we got here? What do you have for sale, Tom? A lot of lamps.
Yeah, surprisingly,
Which one can you recommend?
Lamps at that one.
Mm-hmm. That one sounds good. That looks good. Amazing lamp. Maybe that lamp.
If I was selling lamps, I'd make sure to sell you the worst one in the shop. For an extortionate price. I just make up
that
some
won't be
lie
possible.
about how like it's some
That's
ancient
no
lamp
worries.
and you'd be a fool and buy it.
Tom, listen. That won't happen anymore because I have to pay, 50% customs anyway by now, thanks to 2021. Hypothetically, if you would be still in the UK, but you're in the Ukraine. Anyway, coming back to it. 1-0 it is. CONSTIPEEK on the right track. Young One stealing sight. As TBA take damage left, right, and center, they fall everywhere, and maybe this could be even flawless. Sounds good for CONSTIPEEK, but there you go. That's a denial.
Yeah, not a huge loss, of course, because not really seeing much invested for CONSTIPEEK. You can see that they've still got 3 Spectres. A rifle will be bought up for Young One. And this seems to be their plan pretty much all the way through is, okay, give Young One a rifle, give him a chance to dominate the round. If it doesn't work, we still have enough finances to actually buy into the next one, because they're all keeping around that 2,000 marker. Now, for the attacking side, this is a must-win. This is where you don't really have an opportunity to lose this one, otherwise you're likely to go 4 or 5 down and give a hell of a lot of cash over to your opponents. And being that this is your map pick, I don't think TBA are going to want to get off to that bad a start. I do, however, like what's coming in from CONSTIPEEK. You only have SMGs. Best thing to do is try and get as aggressive as possible. However, Litchi, prime position to try and deny, but actually only gets 1. The peek into long does a lot of damage, but doesn't get any kills.
And the surprise moment for Arcos just simply isn't there. It just simply is not there. There is the movement, though, from TBA over to the side of A, but the rotation is immediate. Only Sova waits. As he waits and waits and waits, now the rotation comes in. But do they have the awareness of what's happening?
From spawn.
That darts!
That's so sick. Line up for the plant spot and they stay a little bit too long next to it after planting. An easy kill and a lot of damage done in response. Now they've decided to hold on to the bathrooms, as we will have the push coming through from Young One. Now he's still fairly healthy, and he's already going to pick off one. It's left onto Lackey. They know where he is, but he gets the first pick. The paranoia will leave him completely blind. And actually, Young One's just going to get onto the spike. This is so risky. He doesn't have the lineup correct. He's just thinking it all the way. How on earth does he manage to do that? Lackey. Oh, no. That's not
I have no work.
That
How
should
is
not
that
be
working?
allowed.
So he's on 20 points of health.
He had 40 originally. He takes a bullet, doesn't let go, and then just sticks it all the way through. That's ridiculous.
1 enemy remaining.
I mean, look at that. He starts defusing, and he's in the smoke, right? And Lackey's realized, okay, he's not dead. He's not dead. So he must be somewhere around the smoke, right? This is why he doesn't spray through, because it seems like he has that thought that he's going to outmove him. And at the same time, he just says, I mean, this game is about defusing the spike, right? What else am I supposed to do?
I can't believe he's just done that in front of them. But well, pistols, SMGs is all that will be allowed for TBA in this round. I said that the last one is one they just couldn't afford to lose, and they do it in, well, I guess in style. as it is really poor one to let slip away. As said, for the side of CONSTIPEEK, this is just a huge boost to their economy. They win the bonus round. They've now got an operator into Unbreakable, who is now manning that raise. And the attacking side, it's just going to be the SMGs. There's a 3-man stacker as well. They're definitely feeling confident in their operator player being able to hold the line. The Sage wall will be broken relatively quickly, and they've got to try and get rid of the turret. They've also got to get away from all of the extra Killjoy utility. And in fact, they've decided, okay, we baited a rotation or two. Let's make a move back to A.
And as Young
30
One
seconds left.
once more could prove his skill, it's 30 seconds. It's a low time mark they always go for. And that nade tries to do its best still with the weaponry in hand. They didn't really try too much. And there we go. Showstopper in this game. Okay, it works. Unintended that Zeus dies, but either way, it works.
Last player standing.
Yeah, only 1 kill, but an extra spike plant is going to give enough money to buy not only into this round, but potentially into the next, just because we are going to see the loss bonus now maximized. We're also going to see the ultimate point given over as well, just to make sure that we do have the potential for the showstopper to come back over the remainder of the half. And actually, yeah, we've got the Hunter's Fury already prepared. Now, you look at TBA at this point. You've got a 4-buy, you got 4 ultimates. Your remaining ultimate is only 2 orbs away. It gets to the point where if they don't win this round, I am really, really worried for this side, especially with what happened in the last map, especially with the manner in which they lost, what was it, round number 3? That's got to be painful. Now, on a positive note, they have been able to get multiple plants and in fairly even scenarios as well. It's not like when the plant goes down, the round is already over, like it's a 4v1 or something. Like each time it's been like a 3v3 or with an opportunity. So that's at least positive signs for them. And they have actually got Happen down relatively low in the early stages.
I am the hunter.
And as for now, that strong lead just continues. The double for Happen. You must feel really unsatisfied right here. You must feel really unsatisfied because there's not the slightest bit of sun so far coming their way. There's not a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. It is darkness. It is the weather forecast coming in with sinister times again and again and again. And with, you know, a 3v5 and most likely another buy round lost, CONSTIPEEK just feel confident. No way. Mate.
Last player standing.
Killjoy might actually be stuck in the mud here. There's going to be a push from Drownsy, so that's at least something. The remaining 2 players are a little bit further away. It's going to bait the plant, but Unbreakable just watching with the operator, at least causing some damage. But as said, at this point, damage really doesn't mean anything. They had pretty much all of their ultimates there. They use a lockdown, and I think they just got shut down by the fact that basically that ult, that Hunter's Fury, was so perfect. They had information. He gets 2 kills. He drops the spike. And yeah, 5-0. Like, TBA yet to really show too much that can make me think that they have any way of bringing this back. Now, they're going to invest a little bit again. Some SMGs. They've been good at getting plants and maybe a Guardian to sit back in the after plant situation. But they need to get past this man first. And that's been a pretty rough task so far. Unbreakable really hasn't been missing too many shots.
At the same time, at least we're still on a realistic basis that they can bounce back. Here's one. Finally, the showstopper so far works. Zeus is chiming in as well. And at the same time, where is everyone actually at? We saw the same thing. There was suddenly Omen besides him. Smile still not spotted and found for some reason. It's getting odd here, Tom.
Yeah, like the initial take wasn't bad, but again, like we talk about what they invested into that round and what they came out with. So technically they get 2 kills, although in terms of economy damage, it only counts as 1 because the resurrection was used. But they used a showstopper to get the first kill. Okay, that's fine. Then they used the Bladestorm as well to get a second kill. And then everyone else just did nothing. Like, they didn't manage to achieve any kills. Somehow, as you said, Smile manages to survive at the back of the site, which I feel like at this point you just have to know the positions that these players are playing. Like, it's 6 rounds in. Oh my god. Okay. We might as well just call this one now. Unbreakable is just styling. A double with the operator, making it look easy. And yeah, again, we're literally seconds into the round and it's already looking like it's done. This is their buy.
There I have to say, yeah, but I mean, the thing is, if this doesn't get to you in your head, then I don't know. You're down 0-6, and the first thing they do in another round is to find a double collateral. I mean, come on. Come on.
Unbreakable, still styling, but they have managed to bring this back into a viable position.
Revealing area.
3 versus 2. Oh dear. Free kill for Happen. And Drowsy is going to close out the round. Yeah, the problem is they're just getting picked apart. Like, that's now the second buy round they have where they have lost 2 players within sub 30 seconds. Like, it just can't happen that way.
Yeah.
And the problem I'm having is like the 2 that they lost, I don't actually really blame them for. Like, getting collatted, that's rough. Like, there's not much you can do about that. So if you're thinking of counter strategies, as you said, you can't just have a strategy of don't get collateral. Like, that's don't stand next to each other. Maybe that's it. And then the round before where they both get hit by the Hunter's Fury, like, again, it's just luck whether you manage to dodge that or not. So it's been a rough time for them so far. Unbreakable, still feeling confident. Almost happened again, but this time Litchi actually gets a double instead. But the TP from Nikki? Oh, that's a risk that I just don't think is worth taking. Like, you have a moment where you have an advantage. Your teammate's not in a dangerous situation, so you don't need to peek to help. To go up on that wall when you know that a Sage has been there and is not dead, you're taking a huge risk.
Agreed. Seems very odd, but it is what it is.
Where's that gonna land? Okay, that's for Heaven.
Never say never. It is
trying to fake
hitting
things out.
something. The thing is, though, Happen is definitely on it. And he wasn't spotted, but finds the first. Dart coming in, no actual plant. And so the spike is still not down. They tried to fake it. That is obvious. That has been hurt. And, you know, I heard there's a man who really knows what to do with his shock darts.
I think he's already used them both, though. He might have one left. He definitely shot the first one, but I just wonder if he might have shot the second afterwards. It seems like there might be some sort of lineup. No, it's going to be the out drone going in instead. Also using a lockdown to try and hold them back, but I think this round is already over. They haven't managed to find him, but there's only so many places they could be, and actually, they've also used... Oh god, all the utility to force him out of the corner. This is just beautifully played by CONSTIPEEK. It doesn't seem like they can do anything wrong at this stage. They're going to go retrieving some of the weaponry. I believe there's an operator down in the bathroom, so that's something extra to have. And yeah, 8-0. Who would have guessed it?
Who would? I mean, it's you know, we were talking about this being the swap of the maps and things like that, and at the same time, it's a bit confusing how dominant this is. Like, that's a different level to it, isn't it? That's really pure strength coming in, and in a way that I would not have seen it from CONSTIPEEK. And you mentioned it before, right? They jumped through the qualifier quite convincingly, didn't they?
Scanning ahead.
This is aggressive. I think that the defense have almost got bored of just their normal plays.
Oh, there you go.
Who would have thunk it? The man gets another opener. It seems like it was an attempt to push.
No way.
That is
No
such a
way.
paranoia, and he's gonna get all three. This man is an absolute tank.
I mean...
Hey, alternate attacks. You should sign this guy. He is really good.
I hate you, Tom. And at the same time, you are right. What a beast he is. He flashes himself in. But at the same time, as good as this play was, this can't happen. This can't happen. It's not allowed. And
he got 3.
You can't get those free frags. No, you can't, Tom. It's not okay.
Yeah, the
Look at it.
paranoia on the first two was just sick, but this one,
Remaining.
that, yeah, literally probably should have got that kill, but hey, I'm not complaining. It makes it more exciting for me.
So many question marks.
9-0. Again, the
Quickly saying
economy
that.
doesn't even really allow for a purchase anymore.
And one thing I want to point out, Tom, I find it very funny. Young One on our map number 1 Ascent had 383 ACS with 242 ADR and a 9% headshot percentage. That's in overall a little odd, considering, you know, what we usually would expect from a
himself
player
well,
with
I
that
guess.
high ADR. Yeah, sure, but I mean, from the ADR, for example, you wouldn't expect that. But either way, he makes it work anyway.
One down.
Oh, nice start from Zeus. Not too often that we've seen them come up with these opening picks. Oh, it may not matter though. Young One again. Well, that definitely wasn't a headshot. And actually, Lackey has managed to find 2. Of course, it was in response to the double that came up just moments ago. Unbreakable has said, this man does not miss. Spots the turret. Let's get scanned so they at least know where he is. There's also a rotation coming in from his teammate, and he tries to bait in the turret. And actually go for a peek on the remaining players. Now, there is going to be some defensive utility left by the Killjoy, but it doesn't deny the plant.
Spike planted.
It definitely doesn't deny the plans. It would be about time. It would be so much about time, but I mean, the ults are with a high likelihood a game changer. Unbreakable would have his ult. We talked about the showstopper a good bunch of times, right? And is he going to use it, or does he stick to what he has? Definitely starts the bait. No way. They dare! Oh, this was so nice! This was so well played! He didn't see him, CT. For a second, I loved the thought. I loved the thought due to the fact that he was faking it. Nobody's jumping into a guy who's using his showstopper, right?
Yeah, it was definitely messier. Like, I like the fact that he waits for the jet to hit the floor before using it, but the fact is, when you have a showstopper out, it is very, very difficult to kill someone flying through the air. Like, you have to be so accurate with it. So, yeah, good stuff in the end. TBA get their first round on the board. That's the most important thing. They finally win a clutch situation. If they can get themselves back to 3, they at least have a possibility going into the defensive side. The problem is they've still got to deal with the aggressive operator play of Unbreakable. And then there's still all the other players that have been causing them havoc throughout the match. Now, they are going to spot, or at least expect, the push to be coming in. But they haven't really been able to deal with it so far.
Shot dark.
And still, the maximum of 3 rounds TBA can now achieve in this half. And that's funny, because now they must have, if the CONSTIPEEK paid very good attention, they heard 2 types of guns back in Puka. Not sure if Jet made noise yet, but I mean, their kind of main positioning over in B makes the most sense right now. The dart lands in such a wonderful spot, and they move away.
Oh, here comes a showstopper on the other side, but I can tell you now, nobody's getting a kill off of this because they're all the way at the spawn. It's instead going to be the Hunter's Fury expended and not this Lackey cheat. How did he know he traced him through the wall? That was ridiculous.
Wait, how did he go? How did he start flying?
Absolutely spot on.
That was a little odd.
He's actually going to get overwhelmed. Young One finding another kill for himself. The time is ticking. Literally in a good position. Actually has a nano swarm available to him as well, and the turret to try and hold them off as they go for the defusal. They've also used themselves a lockdown as they will deny it. Nice. They've realized that there was a nano swarm in position. The spam coming through, but they're just defusing. They're sticking it all the way. And again, it's going to happen right in front of their very eyes. The spike is defused and there's nothing they can do about it. It's only going to be a couple of players surviving total. And it's going to be 10-1 now in favor of the CONSTIPEEK. This was nuts. He just goes, right, he's there.
But again, it was really a full-on team effort because you saw it right there. The Omen smoke came in. After the Omen smoke landed, and obviously the lockdowns stopped, they still kept on doing it. They still kept on also shooting for hookah. So the team effort was there. It's not only those individuals. It's really wonderful to watch this kind of team experience. And Lucky and Co. now in the situation where they can at least get a second round overall from this half. But if they will, I think it was a team flash. I think it was a team flash, actually.
Oh, it's not looking great. Groundsy already giving them pretty rough position. Nikki gonna try and get aggressive, but they're so aware. They send out the out drone and actually still managed to tag one of the players. The only ultimate in play is going to be that of Sage. And actually, they're going to try and teleport away, but I don't know. I don't think that's the play to make. Now they can actually turn this into a 5-on-2 situation, and Unbreakable does not miss. Another kill picked up from him. Lackey is going to go for the TP back round the TP again. And honestly, in a 1 versus 5, I feel like he's just wasting his time. Maybe trying to catch someone on the rotation. This would be the most impressive play of the day after multiple aces, but it's not going to be happening. 11-1, the most dominant half we've seen so far in this tournament, as TBA are struggling.
You know, for the way you are, Tom, struggling is a really kind word to use in that scenario. I mean, the way you are saying struggling with 1-11. Yeah, it's legit. Good, valid argument. Painful what we're experiencing right here. I fully agree. CONSTIPEEK is just absolutely dominating, and this makes it a very interesting Sunday we'll have tomorrow. Besides that, obviously, if you want to be also winning some nice prizes, as CONSTIPEEK might do right tomorrow, you can go for exclamation mark giveaway and get yourself some Logitech gear. The best you can have, and obviously the best you want. Try it out over on the socials of Level. You find it as well. And from that point on, we keep on going. Will it be a 13-1? We'll find out.
The paranoia could be big, but actually it's going to play very little part because they have actually put down the Sage wall. Young One already going to start things off. The opening pick going the way of CONSTIPEEK. Now, for TBA, this is a must-win pistol, and they will actually spot a man lurking around the lamps. This battle won by the defense would give them a chance, but the trade's still coming back thick and fast. Young One again, and it's going to be closed out. 12-1, an 11-round streak needed from TBA, and they need to do it with what will be some 4-sport pistols.
I mean, you know, it seems to be really compensating for the free maps we had in the first best of 3. This is absolute slaughter. Absolute slaughter, really. And this is where the names of CONSTIPEEK really came into my mind to be the ones that actually are so impressive. You know, the names of Smile and Young One, I think we can remember them in the future. I very much think we will see them in the future dominate as well. Unbreakable, very patient, Groundsy coming in. But I mean, what do they really care about right now? Just go for it. And this might be just a very reckless round, but they don't care because it's 12-1.
Might be a little bit overzealous. Unbreakable, though, is still going to bring things back again. The wall on Unbreakable, man. He doesn't even need his operator in hand anymore. This is done. Zeus needs to ace it. Nikki, that's BM. Why you call it GG? Your teammate's still playing. He could have pulled it off. You've got to believe in him, even if I don't. But yeah, it was absolutely dominant. Only 1 round coming up for the side of TBA. Unfortunately, it seems like alternate attacks have bet on the wrong horse and maybe should be looking to pick up CONSTIPEEK instead. What?
Can we show the highlights? Can we just show the highlights, please?
I'm just going off the information.
I'm waiting.
The social
yeah,
media
look at it. Look.
One enemy remaining.
It's amazing. CONSTIPEEK delivered near flawless, outstanding performance. And this is one of the guys who made the difference on both maps. Young One consistently showed that he has not only the skill, but the nerves. And this is a skill you can't learn in Kovac or an aim lab. This is a skill you learn in-game. And this mental kind of attitude is outstanding with him.
Yeah, I think Unbreakable as well. Oh, I'm glad. Beautiful. Production got this one in a slow-mo. Like he was unstoppable. Unbreakable, you could say.
Unstoppable.
And yeah, there were many moments like this where you really should just be seeing like trades or aggressive kills, but they were flawless. And this wasn't even their map choice. So yeah, definitely one of the teams to watch going forward. Unfortunately for TBA, this is where their journey ends, but it seems like they've come up against like an absolute titan within this tournament, and honestly, I'm hoping that CONSTIPEEK are the ones to actually take this, because they've probably been my favorite team to watch so far.
eXiLe versus Consti could be our final tomorrow, and I would be very much looking forward to that, because this could be a real banger. Because you have to see, we came in with something that seemed so unclear. What is the German scene now delivering with this tournament? And obviously Level has delivered outstanding production and the perfect kind of stage for them. We can take a look at the bracket and see actually what kind of stage we have ready for you tomorrow. It's the semis as well as the finals, and a mixery, individually strong, eXiLe, overall a great team, composure. Dreamwalker, the only one who actually gave a map away, and CONSTIPEEK is CONSTIPEEK.
Yeah, they absolutely dominated. So I think the Dreamwalker are definitely going to have a tough time playing up against them, because they definitely weren't flawless, but I'll be interested to see what maps come out, like maybe if they can get a Haven in there again or something and mix it up a bit, because as I said, we've only really seen CONSTIPEEK play over on Bind and Ascent so far throughout this tournament, so maybe they can take them to an icebox. But we'll see. Of course, we have to say thank you to everybody in production, but especially our observers. Zilv and Johnny have done a fantastic job today. And I have to say, like, Zilv looks like he's doing some sort of like modeling photo. Like he's done it in black and white. Like he's put the effort in to really sort of try and flex on us. Like, I don't even put that much effort into any of my pictures.
In anything you do, basically. But I have to say,
nice.
You saying that is very unusual, Tom. I'm asking myself if Johnny's actually casting outside the entire time. That's why he had the picture outside, you know? He's sitting with a PC somewhere in the nature and observes from there. I mean, if he does, he pretty much becomes one with the environment, and he pretty much showed that in the observing together with Sylph. Obviously, that amazing broadcasting duo will bring you tomorrow the action. On my side was nobody else than Tom. My name is Sesh, and if there is a man who's allowed to throw us into any other screen, it is the Brit. Please.
Bye.
One enemy remaining.